Hello, everybody. It is September 29th, and we're coming to you from the dystopia that is the United States. Today is government and social, the two worst categories.
I prefer the new Republic date, March 219th, or no, it's like I don't know. I've forgotten. 212.
Republic or democracy.
Krista's cosplaying today as the villain from the Super Friends. I don't remember what her name was, but she always wore the leopard print.
We were talking about this. None of us have bought clothes in quarantine. And I was looking for things that would be appropriate for the fall weather, and I was like, I don't have a lot of long sleeve shirts anymore.
Yeah, I constantly wear these. They're like poly rayon, super breathable shirts. I'm never going back. This is perfect for the sweatier individual.
Store.level1text.com. Sorry, what?
I was saying they're good for hiking because they wick away sweat.
Do you hike in your leopard print? Aren't you afraid that bears might get the wrong idea?
No, I'm saying the shirts you have because they're that synthetic fiber. That's good. It won't stay wet if you sweat or if you get rained on.
Well, let's get right into the dystopian nightmare. It continues, and the government, of course, wants to know everything about you, down to your most secretive and personal information. And they're finding new avenues to get it all the time. Now, you might see the headline, you think, well, this doesn't affect me, but it could, based on the fine print.
Trump pushes to reap biometric data from immigrants and Americans. So this is mainly about people immigrating, but if you read the fine print, like you said, it's about literally everybody.
If you sponsor or cohabitate, or I think, is it like employers?
And also people that are just near the border.
Yeah, so you will get, I'm trying to find the list of all the stuff that they capture, but it's basically everything.
It was DNA, facial recognition, photos,
palm,
biometric,
finger,
palm prints, yeah. So when
iris.
if you're just walking down the street in the wrong place at the wrong time and you get hit with one of those heat ray brown note things and you leave DNA evidence behind in the form of you pooped yourself, well, they'll hunt you down.
What about that guy that pooped on Pelosi's garage? He's definitely going in the database.
Yeah, they would. Like, that's just like how. I mean, that's a login function. It's like, oh, we'll never track down the guy. That's literally a select one type statement.
But bad news for the cop who's in charge of collecting that. Now, there are some small flickers of the light of liberty that still once in a while pop up in the blanketing darkness. And here's a tiny one. This is nice. Now, if we have to think back about Belarus, which I think has now kind of been restored and everything's back to normal with their internet. But for a while there...
Engagement challenge, it's not.
They just flicked it off.
Yeah.
Literally, they bought software to create a switch. And you might be thinking, that's never going to happen here, right? But if you look into the old law books, there's something disturbing.
Senators Paul, Wyden, Peters, and Reps Gabbard and Massie launch a bipartisan bicameral push to unplug the internet kill switch to protect civil liberties. So apparently we have an internet kill switch, which is somewhat news to me.
It's not called that because it was pre-internet, but it's something about like any wired communication during wartime. That's the president's prerogative. He can shut all that down. Now, they're trying to put a stop to that. Section 706 of the Communications Act. Here we go. Here's what it is.
Any facility or station or wire communication that deem it necessary in the interest of national security and defense.
And I'm pretty positive that, there exists a state of threat of war. So I'm pretty sure that any of the emergency acts that are still in place from 9/11 would satisfy that. Or at least they would do it and argue that, and then it would take a court to undo it weeks later.
Let's apply it to Twitter. Oh, wait, the court has already been stacked with crazy people.
So
it's nice to see senators from both sides of the aisle working together on stopping this, but
those are the names that you always see.
Yeah.
Like there's the ones that are actually maybe a little bit constitutionally minded. It's always those 5 or 6 people.
Which makes them easy to identify by the criminal syndicates that, may be lurking in the shadows.
Go back and look at Gabbard's presidential run. Man, they talk about like just shutting somebody out of the system. They didn't even begin to give her a voice. Which is sad because, a lot of people complain. It's like, oh, you're anti-woman if you won't vote for Hillary. I would so vote for Gabbard in a heartbeat. And, it's not about sexism. It's about that one particular woman. We should be open to women doing things, and we will be coming soon, hopefully, by 2024. We'll have a new first for women. Krista, you have time. You should get in on this.
I don't know. NASA lays out $28 billion plan to land first woman on the moon.
That seems positively affordable.
Affordable?
Yeah, I mean, Jeff Bezos could get like 5 or 6 women on the moon.
They're calling it the Artemis mission. See what they did there.
Yeah.
He should spend $28 billion to get a woman on the moon, and then they should build a pyramid or something to him on the moon so that civilization in 5,000 or 6,000 years can wonder, why did they build pyramids on the moon?
What is
After
there?
the fall,
Are they trying to get research about women, like how women's bodies react to being on the moon and like being in space, or like?
No, I think that's just PR. They did say that the woman will have to be an experienced pilot. She will have to be a veteran of NASA, and she will have to spend a minimum amount of time on the space station to be considered. And I think there's only like 8 or 9 women astronauts right now, and 4 of them are new. But by 2024, maybe they could put in their time.
Oh, yeah.
Give them a brass ring to reach for.
I hope they get lots of like data about how their bodies react to it.
Well, we've had women in the space station.
Yeah. But more is always better.
We'll see. And a lot of people, you talk about the dark things that they're doing in government and the things that they're hiding from us. And a lot of people have this idea. It's like, look, you can't keep a big secret like that. It's a big, sprawling organization. You just can't keep secrets. It's not realistic. Somebody's going to leak it. It just doesn't work. And yet...
The Air Force secretly designed, built, and flew a brand new fighter jet. And it all happened in just 1 year. And that's mind-blowing. Although, like, line 5 or 6 of this article is we don't know anything about it other than it exists. So all these pictures are just random.
Yeah, they put all these pictures. It's like, oh, is that it? No, I think that's the F-22. That's definitely an F-22. No, this might be it.
That's an artist rendition.
Lockheed Martin concept.
Yeah.
We don't know if they actually went with this.
We don't even know the contractor. Like, which contractor did this. I'm sure the Chinese probably know.
These are the Chinese jets. And this is the Russian
like that
jet.
There's like an article heading that's just like more badass planes.
Yeah. But it is crazy because the F-35, it was the 35, right? Took like, 20 years, and they screwed it up so many times. And all of a sudden they did this one in a year.
I don't know if it was this article or another article I read about this, but one of them said that while it will, I guess, work with a human pilot, it's designed for pilotless missions as well. So it's designed for just impossible G-forces and can move around like crazy. Maneuverability.
Great. Take the human element out of war. That's what we need. Speaking of war, the big election looms. We're so close now.
You can't just vote. That doesn't work. You have to be registered to vote.
It's only about a month. Now, if you're not registered to vote, they, you've already missed it, but they do commit an entire day. It's like, all right, this is the national day. Everybody get the word out. Get out there and get yourself registered. Because if you haven't done it by now, the window is rapidly closing. And so everybody's ready. Yeah, let's get those voter registrations in today. Except Louisiana. They weren't into it.
Louisiana's voter registration portal has mysteriously shut down, but on National Voter Registration Day. That seems weird.
Now, the excuse they gave was scheduled maintenance. Scheduled.
So you scheduled it on registration day?
I guess.
Listen, we're going to get a lot of traffic on registration day. The web server can't handle it. Let's just turn it off, and then they'll come back.
So they're having a bit of a tiff, like almost every place in the country is, about mail-in votes and
voter disenfranchisement.
It seems like the right universally wants fewer voters, because it makes sense because their base is older. They've already registered. They've probably already voted. They're on the ball. The left, it's all the street people and ne'er-do-wells and the people with no agenda, it's hard to get them out there. So the more you push,
part-time jobs that don't allow them to take time off to go vote.
The more you push, the more of those you're going to get. So it's total partisan brinksmanship here. Still disgusting.
Why isn't Election Day a federal holiday? Why?
Because then the people might express their will. Over in California, well, speaking of leftist ne'er-do-wells, California, it's packed with them. They run the place, and they come up with crazy laws before anybody else does. So they are at the vanguard of destroying the oil industry, and this is their latest strike. It's a big one.
California to ban new gas and diesel vehicle sales by 2035. Long-haul trucks and other type vehicles like that are set to sunset just 10 years after that.
All right.
That's ambitious for all the trucks.
Yeah, I think how this is going to end up mutating is like they're going to do the zero emissions thing. There's a lot of companies in California that are zero emissions by just buying credits from somebody that planted a bunch of trees.
Yeah, I think what's going to happen is Nevada is going to sell a lot of trucks.
A lot of carbon credits, somehow.
No, it's only sales for the vehicles in California.
Oh, not driving.
So you go and get it, bring it back, and probably pay a $10 billion tax to license it.
See, I read that, and I just assumed that meant you couldn't get it licensed in California either.
Nah, see, they're half-assing it.
Yeah.
They know realistically that we're like way further out than that. So it's like, oh, this says amazing headline. Let me get some votes.
We might not be farther out than that if we can make a cheap battery that's amazing, that's not overly complicated to build.
But that's not made out of things that batteries are made out of right now because there's not enough of that stuff.
Yeah. It would have to be a battery made out of mostly just carbon.
So the big Trump-China thing continues to stay hot. I would say it's heating up. It's hot. It's wide. You can't touch it. And we have several new data points this week.
WeChat survives a U.S. download ban for now. A judge has ordered a temporary injunction on the side of the app's users. So this is going a little different way than TikTok, I guess.
It makes more sense because WeChat is generally expats, Chinese expats, and not, like the normal American people. So they're really just trying to communicate with their families. Although they still could spread communism, I guess. You never know. I tried to avoid Bloomberg articles this week. It's so hard to do.
It is worthwhile to subscribe to Bloomberg. We just don't know if we can,
$340 a year is ridiculous.
Yeah, well,
that's $340 a year, and you don't even get a print magazine.
But it's only $2 a month.
That's for the first month.
Oh.
That's why there's a discrepancy there.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah,
and more sites are going to that model, which drives me insane.
It goes back to the $35 after the first month.
We're only $12 a month at patreon.com/level1. Or
not even 12, it's 2, isn't it?
It's a little more than that on Floatplane.
It's only 2.
But we get to take home a little bit more on Floatplane, so
Anyway, Bloomberg has this story, and so this and the next story, it's interesting because we had the whole TikTok thing, and it was like, all right, you can have it. We'll give it to the U.S. And Trump said, oh, well, only if you follow these rules. And then China was like, well, only if you follow these rules. And it's like, they're just batting that ball back and forth.
No, you.
Trump says ByteDance can't keep control of TikTok in the Oracle deal. And then China said...
That was after ByteDance tweeted that they were going to keep 80% ownership. And then he said that, and then...
China says it won't approve the TikTok sale, calls it extortion. So... There's something larger here that I hadn't considered, which is ByteDance was saying, look, no, we're just a Chinese company. The Chinese government does not have a lot of say-so in this. We can do what we want. And then China says, oh, no, you can't. And it's like, ooh, maybe there's something to this after all.
Well, I think to the Communist Party, that's kind of like Taiwan calling themselves a country.
Yeah.
They can't.
They can't accept it.
That insult is too great, no matter what the cost. They must dispute it. And... we have long had threats that, because we have the anti-China list, of course, Huawei, the big one, and now TikTok's on the list. There's several others. And China has, for a long time, has been saying, you know what, we got a list too. And we're always like, well, who's on the list? And they're like, oh, you don't even need to know that.
Chinese leaders are split over releasing the blacklist of U.S. companies. Some in Beijing are hesitant to issue the list of American firms to target, arguing publications should wait until after the election. So the Wall Street Journal supposes that Intel and Qualcomm are on that list, along with some other companies.
They have a list, but we've read our
limit.
But yeah, Cisco is definitely number one. Everybody's pretty sure Cisco.
Yeah. Hey, in other news, the Windows XP source code leaked this week, and there's some fun comments in there to do with the NSA. And so it's like, that's related to Cisco, because it's like, do we trust Cisco? And I think the answer is no.
Well, we know that governments spy, and we know that China is one of the more prolific governments in that regard, but sometimes we get a little peek at the actual scope of that spying, and boy, is it amazing.
China's hybrid war, Beijing's mass surveillance of Australia, and a world for secrets and scandal. So there's a lot to unpack in this article, but the best summary is like the next to the last line, which is this makes Cambridge Analytica look like nothing, and they've compiled all of the data, not just from social media, but also from credit card companies, your banking information, if that was leaked, and your criminal record.
Natalie Imbruglia, I did not know she was Australian. And Mike Cannon-Brooks, no idea. No idea who that is. Looks like one of those Silicon Valley hipsters. Several important military generals, both recent prime ministers. This guy, don't know. But the amazing thing here was the amount of data. So they would scrape all your social media, all public information like driver's license, stuff like that, medical data if they could get it, financial data if they could get it. And it seems like most of it was just like, yeah, let's scrape this from wherever. But the financial stuff and the medical stuff, they're definitely hacking.
Yeah.
And so they've identified these different cells. The Xinhua, is that how you pronounce that? Xinhua
Yeah,
Xinhua Data. And so that's a company that's basically state owned, and they've identified cells. They definitely know the one in Australia. They found one in Kansas. They estimate there are at least 20 more around the world, but we're not sure.
Nice.
So it's these guys' jobs just to constantly compile data about that country's people. And if you're more recognizable, you go higher up on the list.
Yeah. So they've got leverage. It's like select, exploitable blackmail material where name equal Natalie Imbruglia.
There were two columns, and one was like, it was like you say leverage and then political, something like that. Yeah. So like literally that was in the data as a column.
So do they have taxonomies too for like
I'm sure
adultery,
yeah.
Yeah. That kind of stuff was definitely like their politics, and any criminal activity was definitely a column.
Nice.
So that's out there. That's been leaked.
What if, I'm just throwing this out there. What if in the future when this organization is caught, it's like, no, we're just a Chinese entrepreneurial company. We're trying to get a contract with the Department of Homeland Security with their new immigration database. This is what we're building for the immigrants.
I don't think they had biometrics in this database.
Well, but we would have all that plus the biometrics.
And this is a rare switch of roles, because in this case, usually Americans are doing it secretly, and the Chinese put a gun to your face. In this one, Chinese doing it secretly, Americans putting a gun to your face.
Are we batting?
It is really like, I always like that when we have stories like this, because there's definitely a juxtaposition there where it's like, there's definitely an opportunity for self-reflection, and it's like, why isn't anybody like putting this together in the mainstream? Like this is.
Well, come November, we should choose the side that isn't doing this.
Oh wait.
Well, over in the EU, they do take data protection a little more seriously. You got to give them that, and they are really showing down with the big tech companies, because the big tech companies aren't interested in data privacy. And so we get more and more headlines like this.
Proposal will give EU the power to boot tech giants out of the European market. Companies could be broken up or forced to sell off European operations. And Facebook has threatened to do exactly that.
Yeah, Facebook is definitely playing chicken here. I don't think anybody believes it.
No.
They are not giving up those troves of the data. It's way too valuable.
Facebook says it will stop operating in Europe if regulators don't back down. European regulators are cracking down on Facebook and its ability to transfer data across the Atlantic. Now the tech giant is threatening to pull services for more than 400 million European users. So there's a lot of good stuff in these articles, and you should read that. But the thing that was going off in the back of my mind is, okay, let these companies pull their European operations. They don't need a presence in Europe. They can just offer their services over the internet, and European users can choose to go across the pond and connect to those services domestically. The alternative would be an internet that has been balkanized.
But I don't think they can, because they have those laws now that your data has to be stored locally.
So we've already lost the internet. The thing that made the internet so amazing is that everything was super interconnected, and you could go, like, you could just, electronically go anywhere, and now you can't effectively.
I think it would be great if they did this, just because, after 6 months, we would have all this great data that the mental health of Europeans has improved, over that of everybody else in the world. Although I got to think
someone would immediately replace it, though, like a European version of Facebook. Like, it would be instant.
The void would be filled, and I wonder, could they do it as well, though? You couldn't do, you can't, it's like replacing cigarettes with something that doesn't have nicotine in it, because you don't get the addictive algorithms.
Well, I was going to say, though, like, here's the thing. If the U.S. keeps going the way it's going, well, we get a lot of brain drain of people going to Europe who worked in Silicon Valley before, and we're like, well, okay, I'm going to go here and start on this new startup.
The current global situation is that there's already a lot of brain drain happening. The housing prices in the Bay Area are already, like, there's a huge number of vacancies because people are just GTFOing.
Yeah, well, California in general.
Yeah.
People are tired of that. But the tax rates over there are so crazy.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if the super rich would ever do it.
Well, if enough people leave, the tax rate, everything's going to spiral out of control, and it's just going to be insane. California's not going to be able to service the debt, and there's not going to be enough people left to pay the taxes.
You don't need the super rich to migrate. You need the people who actually do the work on the systems, the algorithms, and the social media stuff.
When California, like, spirals down and crashes, let's buy up some land to move the whole operation out there. Just to enjoy that weather.
I don't want no, man. There are fires, earthquakes. It's going to disappear into the ocean. I'm not interested in living out there.
We need a reserve that's still allowed to do the controlled burns, because the reason the fire's out of control is because they didn't do control. They stopped doing controlled burns a number of years ago, and this is what happens when you don't do controlled burns.
I'm pretty sure Trump told me they were supposed to be raking.
But at that point, all the, it will have spiraled out of control, and, all the horrible government will be gone. They'll abandon it. So we'll just pave our compound.
No, we'll make a food forest. I want a food forest.
That's flammable.
It's true. It is flammable.
We'll make a food forest and use the rubble from civilization to build firewalls around each food forest. So if something bad happens, the damage is contained.
We can build a wall out of the old billboards.
Apparently some ranchers have saved their property by building, like, really deep trenches around it. I don't know how effective that would be. And if you're wrong, you're screwed.
I saw there was a guy in Texas that has one of those huge cattle ranches, and he's like, no, let me show you what we do. And, like, every 2 years, they burn something that's like half an acre wide. And not this year, but a couple of years ago, there were really bad fires, I guess, in Texas. And he's like, look, it saved my farm. And all his stuff was fine.
Yeah.
That's against environmentalism.
Yeah, there's a lot of hippies that were real upset with that in California. And it turns out, oops, that was actually good.
They do that all the time here in Daniel Boone National Forest. They do controlled burns. I don't know why California doesn't. I don't know if maybe they cut funding. Who knows?
Because of the dirty hippies.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a downvote.
Because, they don't have a long view. It's all about, like, make me feel good now, but let me ignore the fact that there aren't enough materials for those batteries. So, more of across the pond. We kind of went off on a tangent there, but let's stay in Europe. Europe is, they're going after the big tech companies, and they have this really one specific argument. We talked about it last week. Won't someone think of the children? And you know who isn't thinking of the children? Google and Facebook.
Google and Facebook are under pressure to ban children's ads. And you should play the sound effect of, like, the tires screeching in your head, because it's like, wait a minute. There are ads for children on Google and Facebook? Because
I think they're very concerned with children, because there are ads all over Facebook for them.
Yeah. So we talked about YouTube last week, but Facebook as well. The problem is we know how the dragnet that they're using to capture all of our information, and there is no indication that it doesn't do that based on your age. And I don't even think they even know your age in a lot of situations. Although, as we'll see in the robot section, they do have some dystopian new ways of trying to find it out.
How long until, like, is it a year or 5 years or 10 years that some of the major advertisers are like, hey, little Billy, why don't you go, tell us what your dad's medications are? It'll be fun.
You'll get 3 Facebook points.
you can spend those on this custom skin in Fortnite.
The snitch skin. Everybody's got that. Well, we talk a lot about the U.S. and China and the way that they, deal with their people, sometimes totally differently, sometimes totally the same. Russia is the third wheel there, and they have kind of a different approach. It's like, we're not going to hide it. We're not going to be secret about it, but we're not going to be as in your face about it. We're just simply going to say no. No, you can't do that. It doesn't matter what the question is. The answer is no, you're not allowed.
Russia wants to ban the use of secure protocols such as TLS 1.3, DOH, DOT, and ESNI. Amendment to the IT law would make it illegal to use encryption protocols that fully hide the traffic's destination.
So, if they want to do some packet inspection, these technologies will help prevent that, and they won't leak your the DNS that you're looking up, the domain name, even if you're encrypting, because that's a problem right now. And the Russian government looked at that and they were like, wait a minute, that would stop us from spying on your web traffic. No, you won't be doing this. Which Firefox and Chrome are going to this. So are they going to be illegal in Russia? Are they going to make special versions?
Minsk browser 1.0.
Be interesting to see. Let me give you we talk about the future. This crazy new world we're living in. Imagine if you could pick up your phone and just transmit voice to another person.
Unheard of.
It's amazing. It took us a long time, but finally we're there.
Twitter to start testing voice DMs.
This is voicemail.
Yes.
This is voicemail.
But why?
I don't get it. I'm not a big Twitter user. You are.
Yeah.
When you're going to start getting
No.
voice DMs.
I have to use the phone a lot more. Most of the time now when I use the phone, it feels involuntary. And that's just unsettling. There's something psychologically wrong with that.
When I get one of those, like I get a call and I don't recognize the number, boom, report spam. I don't care who it is. You shouldn't be calling me. Especially if it's an 800 number.
Yeah.
Yeah, just if you have my email address, your phone calls are spam. That's it. That's the rule. Now, we talk a lot about racial bias when it comes to algorithms, and there seems to be something to it. I think people overreact to it a little bit, but it definitely seems like the image recognition, not great with the darker skin. And the latest victim is Twitter.
Apparent racial bias found in Twitter photo algorithm. So this guy took up like oddly sized pictures because Twitter wants to resize and crop them, and is like of a white dude and a black dude, and he changed where the white dude and the black dude were in the picture, but Twitter always chose the white dude, and it even did it with cartoons. Now somebody else later started just using not even people, and they were able to show that it's just contrast based. Strictly speaking, this algorithm looks for the areas of highest contrast, which is also going to be biased against people that have darker skin on darker backgrounds.
I think it's probably the data sets that we should blame here, right?
Yeah. There needs to be more data with black people in it.
But this data set shows that this area of the photo where there's a black person is uninteresting.
But the percentage of the population is such that your data sets would naturally be way biased to lighter colored skin.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know about Hispanic. Where does it land on Hispanic? Because isn't Hispanic set to be the majority soon?
Well, yeah. The algorithm, though... Sorry, Krista, go ahead.
Oh, no. I was going to say, just think of all the customers you're missing out on, though.
Well, that is exactly what they think, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it could also be that the algorithm here is not sophisticated enough to even be considering like people or not people. Although they did another test where the person was smiling or not smiling, and that did actually seem to make a difference. So if it was strictly contrast based, I could understand, but they did try to test that by having a smiling, black person and a not smiling white person, and then vice versa, and the results from that were really interesting.
That's kind of extra dystopian. It's like, oh, do you want to matter? Better smile. Show us them pearly whites.
The algorithm has detected that you are unhappy on the inside. 50 demerits.
Why don't you smile? Oh.
So, we talked about the YouTube age restriction thing, and the thing about it is, a lot of times we'll be on the old Twitch stream, we'll be talking about something age related, and somebody's like, well, I'm only 16 and I think this, and it's like, you clicked the 18 button. You lied. And children will lie to see content that they want to see. There's no surprise there. I mean, that's been going on since the beginning of age restrictions. And so the question is, how do you get around it? Well, Google has a terrifying new tool.
YouTube will use tech updates to better enforce age restrictions, and it starts to get sort of dystopian from there. I wonder, are we going to get to a point in the future? Because I'm of two minds about this. Because on the one hand, Google should not be making money by exploiting the fact that children watch their videos. But on the other hand, I'm thinking about like a farther in the future where, you go to the library and you go to get a book, and the book is like, oh, you're not 18. I'm sorry. You can't read To Kill a Mockingbird.
Well, they already do that in the school libraries.
So
they're going to start trolling through all the content on the site and using AI and machine learning to figure out whether or not that's child friendly. I'm not sure exactly how that works. Seems like there'll be a lot of false positives.
All of this seems like wasted effort of humanity in the context of like To Kill a Mockingbird thing. Because it's like, wouldn't it be better if you as a parent had tools to just monitor your kid?
No, it's out. I've stopped doing that decades ago. This is the worst one if you live in the EU, though, because you might have to start actually like showing your verification card to Google to get access.
It will request some users in Europe verify their age with a valid ID or credit card. This is the thing that literally failed.
Now, I'll give you a pro tip, children. They're saying that they're going to fix this, but so far, if you search for the video title on DuckDuckGo and go to the video tab, the privacy player in DuckDuckGo will play age-restricted videos. It won't ask you. You don't have to be logged in. And you're robbing Google of that search data as well. You can 2 strikes against the monster.
Krista, what were you going to say?
No, I was just agreeing. Like, the credit card thing was...
What do you think about this stock photo animation, Krista?
I love it. It's wacky. It's zany. It makes me feel better about the content of the article.
I just, when there's affordable AI and everything, which will probably happen about the time that I die, it's like you open up the book and it's like, I'm sorry, you can't read this. Would you like to read something else? Perhaps the Berenstain Bears. It's like, no, I want to read this book. Why won't you let me read, AI?
We've determined the Hobbit is too violent at the end during the Battle of Five Armies. You can't read it.
What about the Bible?
Oh, yeah, the Bible is pretty violent, especially Old Testament.
Real rough. So, one, maybe, if you're worried about the AI apocalypse like you're describing, maybe one little glimmer of hope here is that it's wrong a lot of the time, and a lot of time it's so wrong that they just kind of give up because it's not good enough yet. And Google, they're good at AI, but they just can't get it right.
Google brings back humans to take over moderating YouTube content from AI. This X doubt. I think they'll probably have more humans doing moderation, but it's going to be on top of AI, and these are probably going to be untrained humans.
Well, last story just announced they're doing the age verification thing with AI. So the different AI. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Here's a thought. Do you think that they're trying to focus on getting rid of kids from the platform, or identifying them better because of election stuff? We need to figure out who the voters are so we can target them more effectively.
Playing the long game?
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. I think they don't want to get sued to death, and they're about to be. What was it? $3 billion?
Yeah.
The EU is going after. I mean, Google can laugh at big numbers, but $3 billion I don't think is a number they laugh at.
Yeah.
That's a number they take seriously.
I don't know if they'll take it seriously. They're wincing a little bit, but
they smack at where the bite happened on their shin. I hate the Financial Times paywall because they have non-friendly URLs, but this is the title. And we've heard a lot of this before, but this article just kind of like summed it all up and all the various ways that Facebook is going to try to control the narrative in a month.
Facebook vows to restrict users if U.S. election descends into chaos. So I've read a couple of different versions of this, and some are more dystopian than others, but really it's just like we're going to have more moderators on staff. We're going to have more moderators monitoring everything.
No ads.
You can't just say random crap.
You can't predict a winner. Well, I mean, you can't say someone won.
And your timeline, like for your causes, if like it's let's raise money for this cause, it's got to actually be like a legit verified thing.
Yeah, so basically any information you give about the election is going to be under extreme scrutiny. And if they doubt it at all, it's gone. But, that's fine because in my experience, people don't talk about politics on Facebook. Another interesting thing that Facebook is doing, and this is going to be crazy. I think they're underestimating how often this will be used if and when they give the, filthy masses access to it. Because all the memes and the reposts, and it's going to get crazy.
Facebook will let people claim ownership of images and issue takedown requests. The days of reposting images on Instagram might be over. Okay.
But that raises the question. I'm sorry, Krista.
Sorry, yeah, I feel like we have a weird delay today. I keep talking by accident right when you guys start. I was just saying, it feels like everything has to be owned now. Everything has to be monetized.
And when does it become transformative?
No.
If you Photoshop it?
Plebs can't transform work. That's literally beyond their capabilities.
So here's a preview of their dashboard. It's not as simple as like, I own this. You have to create a CSV with all of the image information and metadata and stuff like that, and then upload that and the image, and then they will create that relationship. And then if you find it somewhere else, you can reference that to claim ownership for it.
This is a career opportunity for people who, want to get close to influencers. It's like, hey, I'll manage all your photos so that way they don't get stolen.
What a pathetic and terrible job.
It would be pathetic and terrible, but I bet someone would pay so they don't have to do it.
I found a video of me doing a motherboard review on some really obscure site, and it was dubbed in like Japanese or some Asian language very badly. It was like the 160p version of the video.
How do you know it was badly?
Because it was, I guess I don't. It just sounded really... It didn't sound good. It sounded really gravelly.
They were just, the whole time they weren't talking about a motherboard. They were talking about Death to America.
Maybe. I mean, the video quality wasn't great either because it was 160p.
It was really just some pixels moving around on the screen.
Yeah, it was like, wait, that's me.
We talk a lot about troll farms, and you got the Russian troll farms, you got the Chinese troll farms, and they're always, more and more, I think we're finding ways to combat them and shut them down. And so, when faced with that, what do? You go domestic.
Pro-Trump youth group enlists teens in secretive campaign likened to a troll farm, prompting a rebuke from Facebook and Twitter. So, yeah, you're just going to have to read this article because this seems insane. It literally seems like a troll group, like what Russia would do, where people are just spouting random nonsense. But it was kids that were paid by
But it wasn't random.
No.
They clearly had a list of things to post.
Yeah.
But they were doing it wasn't just like blindly. Like sometimes we'll get somebody that'll come into our YouTube comments and they'll post a timestamp that's just a meaningless part in it. And they're like, oh, and then their propaganda or their ad comes out. It's like, oh, that's clever. But this was a little more involved because these were actually replying to things that related to whatever information they wanted out there was. But it was still boilerplate. They posted the same thing over and over. So they would troll through the internet. They would find something related to that. They would post their propaganda, and then I guess they get paid per
Yeah, it was like a
instance.
Fiverr kind of a thing. It's like whenever you can find somebody talking about this, post something from, block A. It's like, okay. And then take a screenshot. All right, $5.
And it was some third party. That's the thing. There's always a degree of separation between the actual political party and this kind of thing. But did they really know about it? Did they denounce it?
Follow the money.
Did they fund it? Who can say? I wouldn't. It would not shock me to find that out.
It's not unlike the the auto worker or no, automakers videos that we were seeing, where it's like, if you have the right to repair your car, someone will stalk you and hunt you down from the recordings that your car makes. It's like, what? My car's making recordings.
Actually,
what?
I think it's way more believable than that. The trolls do a much better job than that nonsense. Thailand. Thailand is well known, at least on this broadcast, for having some crazy laws when it comes to criticizing the leaders, specifically the king. You don't want to say anything about the king when you're in Thailand, except for like, he's a great guy. Sure do love the king. Because if you do, you're going to get in trouble. And even if you weren't the one that said it, you just happen to, I don't know, host it on your platform. There's no, is it 230?
Section 230, Communications Decency Act.
Protects there's no 230 in Thailand. They don't have anything like that.
Thailand issues or takes its first legal action against Facebook and Twitter over content. Now, this is a Reuters article, and it points out that Thailand didn't take action against the Thailand subsidiaries of Facebook and Twitter, but of the U.S. companies. And they also declined to elaborate on what laws had been broken or what content they were supposed to take down, which is probably not a good sign.
It was criticism of the king, for sure. Now, interestingly, they didn't go after Google because Google was like, yes, Your Highness, we will remove all that content immediately. So will Facebook and Twitter, now by going after not the local companies, as you say, but the U.S. versions, they can't really do anything about it unless one of those executives travels to Thailand. So, I don't know. Do they care?
We could look in the Chinese database and figure out if they've traveled to Thailand in the past.
There's some dark jokes about why some people travel to Thailand there.
Yeah, I was leaving the door open for you there on that one, but it's fine.
Well, the man who might have done that is Mark Zuckerberg. I don't know. He could have. Maybe he likes that kind of thing. And we have a story here that's not specifically about him, but there's another defector. And the more Facebook defectors we get, the darker it seems the mood inside the company is.
Facebook's former director of monetization says Facebook intentionally made its product as addictive as cigarettes, and now he fears it could cause a civil war. This is on Business Insider.
There's someone at home right now watching this, smoking a Marlboro Red, and just like chuckling bitterly. Like, yeah, right. But yeah, this guy was the director of monetization, and he said that when he came on board, he thought that he was going to be doing, like financial stuff. I'm like, no. You're going to figure out exactly what people want that they're addicted to, and we're going to make more of that. All of that. We're going to get their data and make them. So he said that the goal was around the clock engagement. Like, you can't be away from Facebook. And I think he did a pretty good job. A lot of people seem to have that problem. But they're never going to admit that, I'm sure. But this guy claims that was official policy.
All I can do is just feel sad.
Well, listen, at least you're free to go to Thailand. Zuckerberg's not. That's something you have that he doesn't. That's the only thing that you have that he doesn't.
I mean,
I take that back. Yeah. Personality, yes, and human cells.
Yeah, Krista's got an emotion chip. What are you talking about?
All right, Krista, give us a goodbye that praises the king of Thailand.
What are we doing tomorrow?
Oh, it's business and robot.
Nice.
That praises the king of Thailand.
Yes.
I'm drawing a blank.
Will you destroy the Super Friends? Finally, this time.
What? What was the question?
The Super Friends. Will you destroy them?
No.
The chat's going to get the reference. The old people in chat are going to get the reference.
Okay.
Is that a cartoon? Is that what you're referencing right now?
Yes,
I'm wearing
it is,
that.
Krista. It's a cartoon that shaped our lives.
And there was
a villainess, who wore the leopard print like you're wearing right now. I think she grew to an incredible size. I think that was her power.
I can't get that power.
Well, you don't try hard enough. All right. See you tomorrow.
Bye. Hello, everybody. Today is September 30th, 2020. And we're here with, I don't remember the sections, Robot is one.
Business.
And what's the other? Business. I should have guessed from the name on the first article, but I wasn't sure.
And for those of you who tuned in yesterday, Krista is cosplaying as Cheetah.
He had to look it up. He didn't even know. He's not a true fan.
Is that it? What?
Did you pull up the picture so I can see?
A, B.
Oh, I just went and got an eye exam earlier this week, and I had to do that.
Oh, is that why you're not wearing glasses today? You got your contacts.
I finally got contacts. I need to order some more, but haven't done that yet.
Impressive.
They gave me a free trial.
Well, Christy,
tractor to and from the eye doctor.
What tractor? What?
You've never, you drive. I have to drive back to like my hometown because I always go to the same eye doctor. And
you got stuck behind a tractor.
Yeah, on my way there and my way back, I got stuck behind a tractor.
Yeah, that happens too. Because I live, out in the county. There's some tractors, but the tractors are not nearly as big as a problem as the constant car accidents that shut down those roads. It's amazing. Well, Krista, you've proven me wrong. I'll be the first to say it because I think officially at this point we're probably past the 2-year plan.
Yes.
Now you did say it. I know you deny it, but you did say it. But you have not yet conceived a child, and it has been 2 years.
I have not.
But if you were to do so, would you consider sending them to something that's surely to be a controversial kind of preschool?
Jeff Bezos is opening his first tuition-free Bezos Academy preschool where each child will be the customer. Hell no.
What a terrible quote. How did he not know better than to say?
There was a quote from the guy who runs Whole Foods the other day who was like, people who don't eat healthy are just stupid. And it was like, dude, don't eat it.
I swear, I think something like this happened in like the 1930s or the 1940s, or maybe like right after the war, and something like this happened, and it was just so obviously dumb.
So he says it's going to be
a college model and scaling it down to preschoolers. Like, you have to pay. You're a customer. Like, that's weird.
Well, no, because it's going to be for underserved kids, and they will get priority tuition, which makes me think that there's going to be maybe 15% underserved kids, and then all the rich people who are paying out the nose to cover the cost of the underserved kids.
Yeah, that was always the really horrifying thing in school because, it's like you would get a packed lunch one day, and I was like, I don't really want this sandwich, and then some other kid would like haul out their packed lunch, and it was just like a dirt sandwich, and it was like, oh, I'm sorry, I complained. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make you feel bad.
And then another kid will pull out theirs, and it's like foie gras en croissant.
Yeah.
My nanny made this for me.
Yeah.
Now, listen, that's the world we live in. It doesn't work when you try to level the playing field, but Bezos says that he's going to. I don't know. It's just... What do you think the...
Quote. Most important among these will be genuine, intense customer obsession. The child will be the customer. That sounds like a conducive learning environment where you're just catered to as a customer the entire time.
Also, don't people spend a lot of time trying to find a preschool where the people aren't obsessed with the children?
Yeah, that's true. Good point.
So, that's Amazon. Amazon is going to be teaching the children. Just dwell on that. And while you're dwelling on that, think about when you go to Amazon and you plug in a search result and it pops up and it's like, oh, we make that product. Why don't you have our version of it?
Is this what Karl Marx warned us about with capitalism?
It might burst into flame, but hey, it's cheap, right? Look how much more inexpensive it is compared to these other ones. And so, if you are someone who makes that same device and you're trying to get on Amazon, you might have an issue.
Amazon restricts how rival device makers buy ads on its site. Some makers of smart speakers, video doorbells, and other hardware hit roadblocks to buying key ads and search results, gadgets, and made by e-commerce, get the edge. So stuff made by Amazon gets the edge.
And remember, Amazon is constantly breaking into new, because they just did fashion. Remember fashion?
Yeah.
They're making their own clothes. They got all the books. Electronics they're moving into, obviously, that kind of thing. And now they got the Amazon Basics line for cables and stuff.
I remember, is it last week or the week before that we reported on the DOJ was really starting to investigate Google for antitrust violations, and it was like, I don't understand why they're not investigating. It seems like this move would move Amazon just to the top of the list.
I don't know. Maybe they want to get their kids in the best preschool. So I say that as if anybody in government has a child in preschool. Their children are 40 at this point.
Yeah.
Well, we're doing the new Friday recording schedule. It's controversial, but I got to tell you, having a free Sunday, it ain't going back. This is it. It's amazing to have a weekend again. And one of the big stories we missed on this schedule that everybody was talking about last week is this one.
Microsoft's $7.5 billion purchase of Bethesda's parent ZeniMax bolsters the Xbox Game Pass. The move marks a significant purchase in the gaming world and strengthens Microsoft's Xbox lineup ahead of new launch in November. I actually like sitting on this for a week because a lot of little interesting details of this shook out. Like, for example, Microsoft's going to be publishing a Sony PlayStation exclusive.
And well,
at least temporarily.
It's already been agreed to.
Yeah.
But they basically, if you read between the lines, they're like, yeah, this ain't never happening again.
Yeah.
I've been using their subscription service, and they do put a lot of games I'm interested in on there, and it's like really cheap. I'm sure they're going to hike the price up, but they're probably going to triple the price. It might still be worth it, but there is one thing I noticed when I just installed the most recent game is when you launch it, it's like, oh, this game needs access to all of your OS information. And I'm like, no. And it's like, all right, well, it just won't launch it. Fine. And I'm sure the next Fallout game, the next Elder Scrolls, you're going to be allowing on your Windows, if you're doing it on Windows at least, you're going to be allowing it to reap all of your data. Great.
Oh, but I want Elder Scrolls 6 so bad.
Am I going to be able to convert you guys into running Windows in a virtual machine finally?
If they can fix the video, sure. Listen, I'm all about it.
The video's fixed now, but now the copy protection is a problem.
Yeah, there's always something wrong.
Or the anti-cheats, I should say.
Yeah.
And that you're never going to get around that because every game needs an anti-cheat now if it's online.
Most games, it's funny though, because for years, most of the anti-cheat stuff was fine, but once it actually started to be easier, they were like, delete.
But the cheaters are going to leverage that.
Yeah.
You're always going to have, the dark side working against you.
The cheaters are probably doing like JTAG debugging on the motherboard, which is undetectable anyway.
It is amazing the effort they put into that stuff. But they can sell it. It's a big seller. That's the saddest part, right?
Yeah.
Like people are like, oh, these dirty tabloids and the paparazzi, wow, they should be killed. No, the people who buy it should be killed. That's the answer. Tesla had some big announcements. They had their battery day this last week. I didn't know they did a battery day, but it was in my news feed. I couldn't escape it.
It's just Elon beating people.
Nice, Krista.
They do battery day in September, and then in March they do assault day.
Uh-huh.
So this is an interesting new take on the battery. Although they don't really mention it here in The Verge, but I think they say they're like 3 years away from actually having this.
Yeah,
it's not anywhere soon.
No. Tesla announces tabless battery cells that will improve the range of its electric cars. They also talked about making the battery pack a structural component of the car, which didn't. It seems like maybe not the best idea.
It's like your phone.
Yeah.
Like you call them up, it's like, I'm not getting good. I'll just throw that car away. We got a new one for you. So there it is. Look how exciting it is.
How's that going to be environmentally friendly?
It's a nondescript cylinder. Well, they claim it's something about the electrons' travel pattern is more efficient. I don't know.
When you inevitably need to replace it, though, if they make that part of the structure, like...
Oh, yeah. Just like your phone. Well, I'm sure they could replace it, but you won't be able to replace it. That's the important part.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to send it in, and that's going to be a hefty price tag. They also unveiled the latest, this is not a new model of Tesla, but this is like, the big bad supermodel of the S.
Tesla unveils the Model S Plaid, 520 plus miles, 200 miles per hour, and 0 to 60 in less than 2 seconds.
That is a production car record if they can actually do that. But you know what's crazy? I mean, I got a need for speed. I love the idea of, going fast, especially 0 to 60 fast. I have no interest in this.
It starts at 139,000 before options.
It's so ugly. Ugh. Yeah, if I was going to pay 140K for a car, I would get a much cooler car than that. And yeah, it might be a little bit slower, but the noises it'll make.
It's almost the price of a house. Around here, it's almost
you could totally get a decent house for that.
What's the sports car that is like a hair trigger on the gas, and like it's older, but every single one of them has been wrecked and totaled and rebuilt? Like they have a habit of killing their owners.
There's probably several that can be described as that. So that is not the only thing that happened with Tesla this week. One of their things was not a new announcement. It was a little bit of a problem that they had that points out maybe some of the drawbacks to this hyper-connected infrastructure that they sell you when it comes to not just their cars, but their power walls and their solar panels and everything.
Tesla built a network of connected cars. What happens when it goes down? Owners reported their cars weren't connecting to the internet Wednesday, though the issue appears to have been resolved a short time later. I missed this one somehow.
I think for about 30 or 45 minutes, nothing worked. Now, most people use mobile apps to unlock and start their cars.
That won't work.
Didn't work at all. They do give you like an emergency card that you can card into the car. The car, you could still drive the cars, but you couldn't get any telemetry, couldn't get any stuff like that. One person tweeted, it was like, my tire's flat and I'm on the side of the road and I can't request assistance. Oh God. Like, oh no. How could you ever deal with that yourself?
How do you have like a phone? You could maybe like text somebody?
Well, they were tweeting. I guess Teslas don't come with a spare or anything, right?
Probably.
Oh
not.
yeah, spare tire. Yeah,
Well,
but you can't even install one.
They don't need OnStar's just GM, but they don't need I mean, they have like OnStar on steroids.
Yeah.
Always connected. I would think they would have run flats though.
No.
Are you paying that much for a car and not getting run flats?
Yeah.
Well, more money than sense, as we say around here.
Well, if you are dying for an electric car, but you don't want Tesla, maybe for those reasons, I don't think that probably this is any better. I'm sure they're trying to copy everything they can, but there is a new contender in town. And this has been in Europe for a while, but finally we're getting a North American version.
Everything we know about Volkswagen's $40,000 ID.4 electric crossover. This thing is built for mass production, or built for lowering Tesla's stock value. Yeah.
I'll take either.
Looks pretty generic.
These look an awful lot like renders to me, and not a real product.
Well, it's real.
They're just photoshopped Instagram reality.
You can get them. 40 grand is the base price. Anything does stack up quickly. 250 mile range, I think, and it's nowhere near the performance. Of course, Tesla doesn't have an SUV, so it's hauling a lot more around. 201 horsepower. Weak.
Where are the super cheap electric cars? They don't exist.
Those are called big wheels.
I think
Power wheels.
I think they also said that they're targeting a base price of $35K, but they're not going to do that until probably year 2 or 3 of production.
That's still pretty expensive for a car. I just care about getting from point A to point B.
Well, that was kind of the idea with that car, is that it's like for commuters and you just need to go from point A to point B. Something like that is a great choice, potentially.
But it's still $40,000.
Yeah.
So,
But you're early adopting.
yeah.
You're saving the environment. You're saving the trees.
Except those batteries are
Yeah.
finite resource.
Except, if you discount the 500,000 hectares of forest you had to poison in order to produce those batteries, you're saving the planet.
And in the electric vehicle world, pretty soon we might be marking one off the list. They are still around, and I think this was serious damage control to try to stay around. They are still with GM. GM has not walked away yet, but oh boy, does it look bad.
Nikola founder Trevor Milton steps down as chairman in battle with short seller. So he's still around. He's still there. GM has taken over. GM is like, oh no. oh no, what's happened? It really, I have to know. I mean, unless GM is just blindingly incompetent, GM just had to know. They had to know. So this is maybe as important to GM to appear to still be relevant and on top of things as it is for, whatever the point of this company was.
Or it might have something to do with, you try to do things to keep the environmental protections off your back. This might have some effect on that.
Yeah.
Like that stupid 4-cylinder mode that no one wants. No one wants it, but it helps them get keep the rating down across the lineup. Disgusting. Stock's down something like 25%. It's not looking good.
Not a good time to be an oil company either.
Yeah. Except you can work with Apple. Make up some of that money. Microsoft has Office 365, which, it does give you a lot of stuff, but a lot of people, myself included, are just never going to pay a subscription model. LibreOffice exists. It's good enough for my needs. I'm not going to do it. I will not subscribe to your stupid software package. And maybe they're finally hearing that from the customer.
Microsoft is releasing a non-subscription Office suite in 2021. It will be available for Windows and Mac in the second half of next year. Now, technically, you can still buy Office 2019, but it's a little different than Office 365. And so people were like, is Office 2019 going to be the last standalone version of Office? They also said they're going to sell this version of Office for $150, which makes you think it's for personal use and not commercial use, because the commercial version of Office was still like $600.
We'll see. They have not said when. I don't think they confirmed a price either, did they?
No. Well, they said there was a price in that article, which was around $150 to $160, but again, I think that's for the home version.
If you've been following the Level 1 news, you know that the Google... so there is an argument, as horrific as the App Store is, the Apple App Store, there is an argument that level of control and, dystopian, deciding who and who cannot access the garden is good in terms of not being a forest of poisonous barbs, which is what the Google Chrome store has become. And they've kind of been backing off little by little. It's like, oh God, this is bad. Oh, they're using this for fraud. And in some cases, they're just like, no, we're not doing that.
Google is pulling the plug on paid Chrome extensions over the next year, meaning that any Chrome extensions that remain are going to be malware. No, Chrome said that paid extensions are fine. They just don't want to handle the payments themselves.
And there was a huge fraud problem.
Yeah.
It's like
money laundering.
Yeah, stealing a credit card and funneling that money through your paid Chrome app that does nothing.
Yeah.
That was a big thing.
It turns out eBay is, like eBay, PayPal, like that's a problem pretty much everywhere where you can list something for sale and then somebody else can buy it, because it's like air conditioner drain plumbing coupling. I'm going to list this for $8,000, and then somebody's going to go buy it for $8,000 using stolen money, and then ta-da, money laundering.
Remember when that furniture company listed cabinets for $10,000? No one talks about that anymore, do they? Short memory. Now, if you you hate the App Store and it's like, all right, fine, I'll take the risk with Chrome. I don't need the web extensions, and I want a phone that's more open. But then you get your Google phone and you're like, this isn't open. Samsung has locked this out. Verizon is killing me. Oh God, you want something with more freedom? Well, if you're in the U.S., bad news, because you can't get this. Yeah. But other parts of the world, this seems like a pretty good idea.
The Fairphone 3 Plus is a repairable dream that takes beautiful photos. So this article has a teardown of this phone, and like you say, it's not compatible with the frequencies that we use here in the U.S. But they are talking about doing a U.S. version.
Totally modular. So they pointed out, you break your camera, hey, just get one of these little camera modules, pop it open, replace it. You break your screen, no problem. Easy fix. Here's a picture they took of their dog with the phone. Looks pretty good. I would rather see
They use fair trade gold on some of the components as well, which is kind of cool.
There's a house plant. Not sure why that's related. But yeah, interesting. It is a little thicker, a little bigger, but you can replace the battery. That's a big one.
I would be super interested in this if they had a US version.
Well, they had a US version, and the processor that's in here was like the Snapdragon 835 or some 5-year-old Snapdragon.
It's not great.
So
Yeah.
if we could do this, but at least have the Snapdragon 865. I mean, come on.
I wonder if Qualcomm is hesitant to give them the good processors because of their agreements with all the other companies.
Yeah, it's like people might get used to this whole repairable replacement battery phone.
And that's going to hurt their business in the long run.
I don't really even care if the phones are that modular, but replacing the battery seems like...
Screen is also important.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy was like, oh, I scratched the camera lens on my iPhone 11 and I desperately needed it fixed. I was like, I could scratch the lens on my camera, never know. Maybe trying to take a cat video, I'd notice it. Firefox. Firefox is an interesting company because they are a nonprofit that owns a for-profit. And I got to say, we've been doing a lot of stories lately. It seems like they're doing a lot for privacy.
Yeah.
You got to respect that.
Yeah.
So they're doing good work. But this guy, Cal Patterson, and this is his website. This is not this is not a major source or anything, but he does point out some very interesting things about the financial side of Mozilla.
Yeah. Firefox usage is down 85% despite Mozilla's top exec pay going up 400%.
That's what you
Look
call
how
it.
well this site scales.
In charting, that's what you call a death cross. So yeah.
Do we think paying him this much is going to cause the market share to increase? Because I'm not seeing any upward blips.
What is his value? And how does he show it? Now, they do go into all the cool privacy products they have and stuff like that, but their market share, how do you come back from that? I mean, almost nobody. And on mobile, it's 1/4%.
I am the 1/4%. I use Firefox on mobile.
Even though, pro tip, unlike a lot of mobile browsers, Firefox will let you install ad blockers.
Nice. I have Firefox on my mobile, but every time I go to use it, it's like sluggish and weird the first time I open it, and then it's like I shouldn't open this ever again.
And it's like the UI seems a little too big.
Yeah.
It's kind of bulky.
Oh, see, I like that.
Oh, you do like that?
Yeah, I like it.
Our next headline, I thought of Krista. Because
Well, what's the?
it's a Lord of the Rings reference. It's the guy that was whispering in the king's ear, and it was like, you have no power here. It's like that's how I heard in my head. That's how I heard Tim Cook saying that. So I thought Krista
says that in the movie.
Krista, is that a legit quote or is that just a movie quote?
I think that's just a movie quote.
Oh.
I don't remember that happening in the book.
Well, Apple Tongue said, well, I think this is more of a Jedi thing, right?
these are not the droids you're looking for.
Yeah, exactly.
This is not the antitrust you're looking for.
Krista,
Wait, who's reading that?
that's you.
Is it me? Tim Cook on antitrust investigations. There is no monopoly here. Antitrust issues, climate change, President Trump, and more.
This is not the antitrust you're looking for.
So he was talking about, he claims that all of the areas that Apple competes in was a quote-unquote dogfight for market share. And they weren't doing anything to try and get more of it and maintain it.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, fundamentally, Apple devices are computers. And they fought, like this article mentions it, I think, a little bit, or one of the articles I read mentions it a little bit, but, when they, in their marketing material, have you noticed that deliberately Apple stopped using the word the? It's like, oh, we did a lot of hard work on the processor in the new, or in new iPhone. And we've really taken this to the next level with iPad. And it's like, what? There's no the. It's just iPad or iPhone. And so they don't want people to think, they don't want people to think of them like computers. It's like, no, it's not a computer. And it's like, but I want to be able to install whatever software I want on a computer. It's like, no, it's not a computer.
It's a lifestyle, man.
Yeah, so I guess in their mind, it's not a computer, so they're not doing anything. But at the end of the day, it's a computer. I want to be able to install whatever software I want on the computer.
Like Fortnite. Yeah, I don't like their argument, but they do have a lot of other people that they can point the finger at.
Yeah.
It's kind of everybody's doing the same thing. Doesn't make it okay.
Google and Apple have both agreed that you shall not have direct access to your computer. That doesn't make it okay.
Yeah. When I, when I first remember when Android first came out, and I was like, oh man, an alternative to that garbage. And it's like, wait, I can't get to the file system.
I mean, we kind of had this in the 60s too. It's like IBM required you to hire an IBM staffer to run your mainframe. And it's like, no, you're not going to flip the switches on the front of the mainframe to program in the ones and zeros directly to the register. You have your IBM butler to do that. You just tell us how you want the ones and zeros programmed in, and then he's going to flip the switches and press the button for you.
So that wasn't the only thing that Tim Cook had to talk about at that event. He also talked about how the pandemic was affecting Apple.
Apple CEO impressed by remote work and sees permanent changes. Well, that's good.
I think they're at like 15-20% of people back in the building, but he claims that he's comfortable with that number, and it seems to be going well with the collaboration online.
I can definitely see. I mean, a lot of the time with like information workers, you're fine working from home most of the time, but it is useful to get together and be like, okay, here's the thing that we're working on, or here's the direction that we have. All right, everybody go do your thing. And you give people a chance to legit do their thing. They're really productive. And then you can all come back together, get orientation, figure out what everybody's doing, have that sync up. And it's really the best of both worlds. And you don't have to be in the office every day to do that.
Now, the Netflix guy said the opposite.
Well, the Netflix guy is probably not he's probably one of those meeting mavericks I'm always complaining about, where he's just shows up at a meeting and it's like it's obvious he didn't prepare, but he wants to get everybody riled up, and that was his real skill.
Yeah.
Are you?
I scheduled a meeting, but didn't come up with an agenda. So we all sit down and we all look at you, and it's like, hey, what are we having this meeting for? And they're like, I don't know.
By
That
saying
makes me bonkers.
the unspoken part of that statement is you're saying Tim Cook is great? You heard it here first, chat.
It's Tim Cook's underlings perhaps are self-motivated.
So iOS 14, maybe in response to that whole monopoly thing, Apple finally made some concessions. They actually would allow you to use other mail programs and other default browsers other than Apple Mail and Safari. And that was kind of a big step. It's like,
just like Microsoft after their antitrust settlement.
Yeah, you want to use Chrome on an iPhone? Well, okay. But some people have found an interesting behavior if you reset your phone.
iOS 14 resets iPhone default apps after to Apple Safari and Mail after reboot. So this is not like when you say reset, you don't mean reset. You mean just turning it off and on again.
Why would anybody ever do that? It just works.
It's interesting because this is also from Microsoft's playbook after the antitrust trial.
After every update.
Yeah.
No, we're putting that back.
Yeah.
You must have made a mistake here.
I've gotten so tired of Windows changing my preferences that I just don't care anymore. I'm just like, all right, whatever.
Yeah, really. I mean, I look at Windows as like this sort of fleeting temporary thing.
Yeah.
I had to stream my desktop the other day because one of the games wouldn't play ball with OBS. And people were giving me so much shit about my activation warning. It's like, why would I bother? Why go through it? It's a temporary thing.
The sad thing is you actually have like 3 or 4 legit keys at this point. It's just like, I don't even...
Don't bother. Don't bother. Yeah. It's not worth it.
Yeah, I mean, it's... Yeah, I've got a chocolatey script that goes through and sets like some basic quality of life things, but even just like light mode or dark mode, every now and then, whenever there's a Windows update, that gets reset, and it's like, okay, I just don't even care.
Yeah, I understand that you're spying on me. I understand. I will take precautions based on that, but I'm not going to try to fight it anymore because, it's ridiculous. Google Maps are very interesting. They do a lot of different things to, help you with your trips and show you what's going on. They got that traffic. I love where they do the speed trap one. That's fantastic. That's but the newest one may be a little controversial because where are they getting this data?
Google Maps adds an overlay of COVID. Oh, that was close. I almost said the thing. I didn't say that.
I'm not sure the algorithm is going to forgive you for
the
quick stop time.
Maybe that'll confuse the algorithm.
Translate back to English.
They added an overlay of the thing to track the thing trends. And so if you look at it, the resolution is really, it's like county by county. So it's not like...
No, you can do state.
Well, I mean, like the finest granularity.
So
it's not like you can't see the red spot that's your neighbor's house.
This is a 7-day rolling trend. You might be hard to see, but there's those little arrows and a percentage number. And that's coming from these sources. Which
Johns Hopkins, New York Times, Wikipedia.
Oh, Wikipedia's not great. I was looking at Johns Hopkins. That's what I've been getting my numbers from.
So, interesting. That's an interesting. There's the county level one.
Y'all ready?
Are there gonna be a lot of people who are like driving along and they glance down at their phone and they're like, and just like throw it into a U-turn?
I'm driving through a red county. I can't stop.
Oh God! They just hold their breath. This is we haven't seen as many more a lot of these headlines lately, just because I think everybody assumes this. But
Yeah.
Samsung was waiting until the last minute, I guess.
Samsung has canceled their developer conference due to things. So this should come as a shock to no one.
Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking. Why they thought they could get away with that. They can't. You're not allowed to do that. How did you guys catch the late editions here? Oh, this is a great one. So, obviously, kids are being educated remotely these days. And no one expected this, right? This came out of nowhere. So, there was kind of a scramble to get software that is this automated remote learning software. It turns out this company had one ready to go, and it was super cheap compared to the alternatives. So a lot of people bought it. But now that they're actually getting into the various parts of this program, it's a little weird.
G is for gun. Online curriculum outrages parents. Racist and inaccurate content in lessons stirs backlash. Acellus founder denies claims about an alleged religious sect. Oh no, did they accidentally buy the brainwashware?
They might have. So there's a couple of things that they're like, G is for gun was part of the alphabet thing, and like the person in the video actually pulls a gun. The best one was they were showing we're paywalled.
Yeah,
the best
you can't
one
see all of them.
The best one was the islands of Japan. They listed, and so like one was the correct answer, and one was nonsense, and one was sneeze noises. And they're like, ugh, little racist.
Oh.
And there was one where I didn't really understand. I didn't have a picture of this one, but they claimed that like the wrong answer was always black people, and the right answer was always pictures of white people in some of the sections. So they started digging into this guy. He is a polygamist. He does run what seems to be a cult. Some allegations that he has told his people that he is the next coming of Jesus. Maybe he enjoys the young girls that he uses his power to impregnate. Maybe, I don't know. Those are allegations. He denies them all. But in other ways, the lessons were just wrong. And they're like, "What? Did no one vet this? This is just wrong information."
How did they sell it? Like, did they not give samples? Do people just buy their educational material without reading it first? Like,
Yeah, it's probably Google. They probably went to Google and typed in some obscure thing, and he was the first thing that came up.
The next competitor, I think, is $300 a student. This was $100 a student. So a lot of people were probably just motivated by that. The Hawaiian school where they talked about this, that was one of the quotes. Was like, "Did no one look at this before we bought it?"
Yeah. There has to be, I mean, I imagine they don't give you the full curriculum like up front because then you wouldn't pay for it. But like, surely they would give you samples of the lessons that you could look at as a parent. But,
Only the good ones.
Yeah, I don't know. But definitely seems like it was put together by people who were enjoying a lot of inside jokes and maybe weren't that intelligent. So I don't know. I haven't personally used it, but the examples were pretty damning, I thought. I mean, I don't care if G is for gun. That's fine. Children should be taught about firearm safety. That should be part of the curriculum. But the Japan one and the one that was just blatantly wrong, and you might be saying, well, this is just another thing that the pandemic is destroying, as it is destroying all the things we love, and I hate it, and there's no good that came of it. Well, you'd be wrong, because there's a little bit of good that's come from everyone being locked inside their homes.
Pandemic accelerated cord cutting, making 2020 the worst year ever for pay TV, according to TechCrunch. So, yeah, it turns out you don't have any disposable income, you're not going to pay for pay TV. That's going to be one of the first things to go.
31.2 million and 46.6 total households. That's by 2024. They currently have 77.6. So if they have 77.6 and they lose another 30 million next year, that math doesn't add up. That's going to get worse. But I think they're assuming that things get better.
It's not going to get better.
Pay TV is not a reasonable value.
That's ridiculous. I mean, what do they put on it anymore?
Garbage.
Are there like really
more ads?
What's the most popular show on TV right now, you think?
Probably one of those singing shows.
Oh, right. Yeah. You could put those on Netflix.
It was the case a few years ago that getting the cheapest TV plan and saving the money difference into a slush fund to use to just buy whatever box sets of TV shows you wanted came out at like half the cost or less.
Well, that's based on how much you consume, though.
Well,
it's kind of like watching movies. You know, some people are crazy about watching theater movies. Well, not right now, but some people. Here's a really, really dark headline. This is going to be one of those things where, you know, like when we go back and we look at the Romans, it's like, geez, that was barbaric. This is going to be one of those things that we get looked at like that for.
Gig economy company launches Uber, but for evicting people. A company called Civil says evicting people is the fastest growing money-making gig due to the current situation. And so they, like, one of the most hilarious and also dystopian things on here is like a lot of celebrities out of work. They're using the websites like Cameo, where you can go and you can, you know, find your B-list celebrity and send him a thing and say, hey, will you say this? And it's like, yeah, you know, shout out to Bob, happy birthday, Bob, how's it going? And it's like $40 or $10 or $100 or whatever. And so that company apparently used this service to get celebrities to endorse it. And yeah, you go evict people. But
you serve papers.
There's federal laws that prevent you from actually doing that. If the people say, I filed a form online to prevent you from evicting me.
But they don't know that.
Yeah.
So if you need to evict somebody, you don't want to do it yourself, you basically go on here. It's just like ordering, you know, food from Eats.
Food from Eats, a bride from overseas, you know, whatever.
Probably less paperwork here. So you can get the papers served, and then when you need to move all of their garbage out of their house to the curb, they have that as well. You can get those people for
get those filthy peasants out of your precious apartment.
Again, wasn't this like a staple feature of the things they were, you know, the writers were warning us about in like the 1940s and 50s? Is like the bourgeoisie would turn the working class on itself.
Well, they point out
that happened in France a little earlier.
Well, they point out that desperate people would be doing this to make their own rent.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, you know, ratting on the other people in the concentration camp.
Yeah.
All right, look, it's a contract. You signed it. You're obviously there's some difficulties going on right now.
There's some mitigating circumstances, if you will.
Yeah,
but
if you're being like.
But if you have a mortgage on that property that you can't make, where does that put you?
I thought
it's almost like the legislature could have been like, hey, let's put a hold on mortgages too, but they didn't because they don't care.
There are a few banks that, and this is the smartest thing I think that we could do to avoid, because it's definitely a worse situation economically, but for the mortgage side of it, the bank has literally just taken that 3 or 6 months of mortgage payments that you can't pay and just added it to the end of the loan. You're still going to pay interest on that, but it's not usurious, and nothing. There's no penalties or any sort of bad things that happen. It's like we're just going to move that to the end of the loan.
But so imagine how much money they're going to make by taking that property and then evicting those people.
I don't know. I think that would ultimately be a losing thing. It depends on where it is.
Well, it could destroy the market for sure if it happened on a wide enough scale, but that's next quarter or the quarter after. We don't think about that.
I'll be retired by then, so who cares?
Sure. Space trash. It's a problem. And when I say that, I'm not talking about Tom Cruise filming his next movie in space. I'm talking about literal space trash. And the problem with space trash is that it can be very damaging to the space station, not armored. It's level 0 armor.
And we know that it's bad from playing Empyrean. without armored blocks on our ships.
You don't want that. They don't have a force field either. They don't have personal shields.
It's an aluminum foil balloon, basically. The ISS successfully dodges unknown piece of space debris. Space junk was coming too close to the International Space Station, so it got out of the way. It was passing within a couple of miles of the space station, so they moved the space station. No idea what it was.
They happened to have one of those Russian transport rockets hooked up at the time, so they're like, "Hey, bro, why don't you give us a little boost?" And they did.
In a weird twist, it's actually turtles in space, and they're coming to dump junk on our space station
Where did they get the junk?
from the oceans.
Okay, how did they get into space?
Don't question
Turtle
it.
magic.
They have those straws and they just link them together to get Earth from the atmosphere, or air from the atmosphere.
There's like something's not working. There's some kind of shutter or something that get one of the solar panels can't move, and they're like, "What's going on? I'm gonna have to spacewalk." And they get out there, and it's one of those tab rings from Cola. It's like, what? And he's like, there's a reflective part, and he sees the turtle face right behind him. Just bites the hose in half. That'd be a great movie.
I would watch that.
Turtles versus the space station. Well, if you have one of the things about the pandemic is people's stress level gets really high. Like people are freaking out, like maybe they're going to get evicted, or maybe they're going to have to evict other people, and that's not a fun job. And one of the Wendell, you mentioned last week that you are grinding your teeth.
Yeah. Mm.
Did that start recently, or is that just?
Nah, it's always been a thing.
Yeah, so it's not pandemic related. Another thing that could happen is you could get some stress-related problems in your stomach, like ulcers. So what are you going to do? Technology has the answer.
3D printing inside the body could patch stomach ulcers. In vivo printing could also help repair hernias and treat infertility. It seems like you would have to be able to eat kind of a large piece of equipment there.
They cover that. So this is basically like folds down into a credit card size.
Mm.
So they cut a slit, inject the credit card, and then it folds back up into this thing right here.
This monstrosity.
I think I'll wait for them to be able to do that without an incision.
You want to swallow it?
Yeah, I'd rather swallow it.
How are they going to power that?
Well, it's with the wire.
So they're going to poke the wires through after?
No, the wires go through your throat.
Oh, so you're going to have like an esophageal tube.
Yeah, it's like it's like intubation.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're passed out, you won't, and you don't struggle against it, it's not too bad. That's what I thought. I thought that's how they supplied the 3D printable material. Is like they put the thing in, but then you get the wires and stuff through the esophagus, and they hook it up that way. But maybe not.
No, it goes straight in. And so this is the little grid pattern that they printed out of human cells. This is what they would do to patch you up, and I guess that would like start a healing process that would eventually your body would take over.
That just looks like hot glue to me.
That's probably what it is.
Hot glue of human cells.
So that's cool. And they're talking about doing it in other organs, although it would have to get much smaller, obviously, to be able to do other organs. I don't know. Seems cool. Though, you know what that's going to be great for is if in those Chinese camps, if they have to shoot somebody, they don't have to throw away any of the organs.
Oh, perfect.
They can just juice them into a fine mist and load up the flesh printer, and it'll just figure it out.
We'll use this one for substrate. I couldn't get it. Did you get a feel exactly what this is going to mean?
Yeah,
like
we covered.
Kind of glossed over this.
We covered the GPT-3. Basically, you remember that?
But what does it mean that they're getting the exclusive?
Nobody else is going to have that amazing ability.
Well, they said they're going to keep it open. This is Kyle Wiggers, our favorite reporter.
Nice. Microsoft gets exclusive license for OpenAPI's GPT-3 language model. So this is the thing that we covered 2 or 3 different weeks in the past. This is the language model that had written the paper on why AI is no threat to humanity, and a bunch of other really convincing writing. So this is a very elaborate AI model. It has was trained, I guess, on a very extensive data set. It is a genuinely impressive AI.
One guy was testing it. It understands analogies. Pretty impressive. But Microsoft has purchased the exclusive rights to it. They say that you can still get the open version of it. I don't know exactly what that means, but
it was just an open API. They never really opened the software.
Right, but they could rescind that, I guess, at any time.
Yeah.
If they found out that somebody else is using it.
Well, and because Microsoft has control of the API, it knows what you're submitting to it. So, like, if you're submitting to the API, hey, don't you want to kill all humans? It's like, no, we got to stop that.
They let that one go through. The only one they don't let go through is, like, how do I get around the Microsoft licensing process?
Or did Epstein kill himself?
So, this is a terrible, terrible clickbait headline. I was very disappointed.
I don't know. It's pretty exciting.
It's going to happen eventually. We think maybe, if we don't get to the filter before then. But this is a very, very early version of it. So early that it's actually not doing anything.
The Chinese asteroid mining robot due to launch in November. It's not actually going to be doing mining, but it is going to be doing a lot of the maneuvering, like as if it was going to mine. And there's not really anything to mine on the asteroid that it's heading to, but it's just going to see.
It's not heading to an asteroid.
It's
just synchronous orbit.
Oh, synchronous orbit.
It's going to be a virtual asteroid.
I thought it was going to blast something with a rocket.
It's going to pretend that there's an asteroid there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But eventually, the great-great-grandson of this thing, or granddaughter, is going to be doing asteroid mining.
It's going to be doing a lot of maneuvers.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, that's the idea. They're going to create this virtual asteroid. They know where it is, and they, the thing thinks it's there, and it's going to maneuver all around it and try to do the various things. I think it would be cool if we can mine asteroids. That might be the only way that we ever get enough material to make electric cars for everybody. Although, I got to say, if we've learned anything from Empyrean, the Xerox Corporation is up there.
Well, I mean, you don't have to wonder about stuff like that. I mean, just look about like things like wooden furniture. Do you know how hard it is to get wooden furniture that's not made out of sawdust?
It's almost impossible unless you're buying vintage.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we can't make batteries out of sawdust.
No, it's my point. It's like the materials for batteries are even more rare than trees, and we're having a real hard time with things that are made out of trees.
I had a difficult time choosing which of these last two stories to put last. I like to put the most entertaining and like ridiculous story the last. And I asked Krista, I was like, Krista, which one of these should we put last? And she was like, are we doing nonsense already? I thought this was...
Yeah, I don't even know anymore. Like the stories are all so ridiculous.
Because this does seem like an Onion headline. But no, this one's real. If you love Ring doorbell, you love the idea that your house is constantly under surveillance and you've got the thermostat and you've got the motion sensors and you're like, oh man, I wish that this system was more autonomous to spy on me. I wish it could spy on the places where I didn't physically put it. You're in luck.
Ring's latest security camera is a drone that flies around inside your house. The Always Home Cam is an ambitious new home security device. I actually like this better than fixed security cams.
I guess, but what happens when a Ukrainian takes control of it?
And it just flies around your house.
We're going to be reporting on that in the Level 1 news. It's like, and then they performed, the Nutcracker Suite in synchronous, like the entire neighborhood.
No, it'd be Flight of the Bumblebee. That'd be Flight of the Bumblebee.
Also, oh, it's a criminal.
What's hilarious is the criminal in this video kind of looks like our friend Zim.
Oh, no, it's the Rings got him.
It's like, what is that?
If you're a pro criminal tip, just carry a baseball bat and swat this thing down. Like,
I'm pretty sure that this commercial that they got the same director that did that episode of Black Mirror where the Boston Dynamics robots were killing everybody.
Also, I gotta say, I don't know what percentage of the household, U.S. households have cats. That ain't going down in a cat household. My cats would not tolerate that.
It does say that it has collision avoidance.
Wouldn't they be afraid of it though? Your cats are chickens.
They are cowardly, but I think eventually they would. I bought my dad a drone because he wanted to do like drone photography, and I was just, I got it shipped to my house because I had to assemble it. I can't count on him to do any of that. And I tried it out, and as soon as the cats got sight of that thing, they were under the bed for like 4 hours.
Oh.
They weren't having it. They're such cowards. But I think eventually, once they live with it long enough, they would get used to it.
I think also this was, if you read between the lines here, there was a little self-contradictory. They didn't put a microphone on the drone and blah blah blah, and so they're trying to say that, like, look, we're privacy focused, and you don't have to put a camera in your bedroom, and not only that, you can make a forbidden zone so that the camera is not allowed to fly in there. But then in their commercial, you know, the dude was breaking into the bedroom and it just flew right in there. So it's like, which is it? Is it forbidden from ever going in there, or we're not home, it's allowed to fly wherever?
And how does it
no.
know? Oh.
They got the NSA override code.
Yeah,
It can go wherever it wants.
Well, it turns out the NSA override code is also the Ukrainian override code. So,
And our final story, let's say that you're locked down during the pandemic and you're getting lonely, and you'd like to have maybe an artificial lady in your life, but you're just tired of looking into those cold, dead eyes that don't know you from anyone else. There's no, she's not faithful. She's just an object, but you need someone that belongs specifically to you. Say no more.
new sex robots coming soon. Sex robots doll. So the eyes.
Written by
This is English. This is like the craziest level of English that you can imagine.
I don't get it.
So the actual story here is the AI.
The eyes. It's just the eyes, though. The eyes will follow you and respond realistically.
And recognize you, and not their voice too.
Oh.
She has voice. And so once you've trained the eyes, she only has eyes for you, quite literally. Anybody else, she will not get sexy for. She can't technically stop them.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, they point out this is the same company that makes the real dolls, Abyss Creations.
Is trauma counselor for robots going to be a job description in the future? It's like, what do you do for a living? Oh, I'm a trauma counselor for robots.
She also has a body temperature system, so she's not a cold fish. She's warm. She looks at you. She talks to you, and they talk about how demand for these has exploded, and they're worried because demand is so big in Japan that they're kind of upset that they're having to export so many of them.
A lot of them are going to China, which interesting.
Oh, maybe this was China. Oh yeah, made in China. Okay, I said Japan. It's China. Yeah. So get on the list if you want one. They're going fast. Krista,
That's something.
give us your sexy robot eyes goodbye.
That's horrifying.
Oh, I closed the window. I was going to switch back to cheetah, but I closed the window.
See you Friday.
Hello. Today is October 2nd, 2020. It's almost spooky time, and we're here today with security and nonsense. Are you guys ready for Halloween?
Halloween's not that big of an event for me, so yeah, I'm always ready for it.
Just whenever. Some of my neighbors have started putting up decorations, which is nice when I take a walk at night.
Anything to keep the darkness away.
Yeah.
But that is the
pretty much.
darkness. It's celebrating the darkness. It's a time when we can, get away from the harsh reality of the world and just pretend that zombies are killing us.
If only it was just zombies.
What are you going as this year? It's like, I don't know. I was thinking about Epstein.
Well, I'll tell you somebody who is living in a nightmare, and that is whoever set up this Elasticsearch for Microsoft. Oh boy, are they sad.
Microsoft secures a backend server that leaked Bing data. No personal user data was leaked in the incident, and yet you could probably put something together here. How much data was leaked? 6.5 terabytes. Microsoft calls that a small amount of information.
Yeah, they refer to it as a small leak. This was Bing search results, but not just the search string and the results, but also all the metadata from the user. Yeah. So the researcher was able to determine that this was real and live by making a couple of mobile Bing searches for something they knew nobody else would be searching for, and then searching the Elasticsearch. I found it immediately.
But again, it was no personal user data. So, except for, whatever really strange thing, like that's going to be an academic database. They're going to be talking about you 100 years. It's like, this messed up guy was binging.
Binging. It's not a verb. It's not a verb. No one says binging.
So, what will you call it, Krista?
Using a search engine that's not Google.
People always talk about how much energy is wasted mining Bitcoin, but just as much energy is wasted on things like we need to come up with a search engine name that's like catchy, like Google, Bing. How much energy was wasted on coming up with that?
Well, like last episode, that one app was called Civil.
Yeah.
Civil, and it really is just like, okay, double a letter and remove a vowel. It worked for Tinder.
And good luck trying to get a domain.
Well, that's why they do that.
Well, yes, they can get the domain, but like then when you're like telling people about it, oh, just contact Civil, and it's like, how do you spell that? And it's like, oh, it's not the way it's actually.
Civil,
yeah.
Last week we talked about the zero logon patch, and that was this crazy patch or exploit, and that's this crazy exploit where you just, like the username and password, like what if I don't know those? Just put zeros in. It works. And it doesn't work anymore if you patched. But what if you didn't patch?
The feds issue an emergency order for agencies to patch a critical Windows flaw. Agencies that didn't update must disconnect all domain controllers from networks because it's that bad. This was the man-in-the-middle thing that we reported like a week or two ago. And, you know how things are in the government and everything's really like, imagine the DMV. Now imagine the hoops that IT has to jump through. Those servers ain't patched. It is a field day if you're a Chinese espionage agent.
You know who else is having a field day?
Or Russia.
Call of Duty hackers. Oh man, think about it. You spent hundreds of dollars on all those cosmetic unlocks. Your character, you got that sweet marijuana leaf icon in your name, and you got all the coolest backpacks and tiger stripes for your guns, and someone takes it.
Call of Duty accounts hacked. Activision denies any compromise. It's like, oh, this is credential stuffing. Those people probably use the same password here as somewhere else. Maybe, but X kind of doubt. I forgot that we have COD blops.
It wasn't as good after the demo. Remember, the demo was good. Some people said they changed the tick time.
I felt like we just, like, everyone else who played the demo was just as bad as we were. And then when we got into the actual game, it was like, oh, these people are all tryhards, and we're not going to finish them.
It takes all the fun out of it when you can't get at least one kill per session. When you're that bad,
yeah,
it really does. It dampens it.
Maybe the game should like load in some bots that are fake real players just to make it's like you're playing on a ridiculously low level. We're just going to quietly sandbox you somewhere that you can kill some bots.
Well, Tarkov did that, and the bots still killed us. You need some kind of matchmaking. You got to have some kind of matchmaking. Chris, I love this illustration.
This looks like this was maybe done traditionally, which is surprising, or like actually painted.
Yeah, it might be a famous painting. Anyway, it represents the wolf here. We're not showing it to you yet, but the wolf here represents the evil of the dark web.
Ooh. Dark web drugs raid leads to 179 arrests.
Simultaneously, everywhere.
It's Little Red Riding Hood, and she's just trying to buy some methamphetamine.
179 arrests and $6.5 million in cash and virtual currencies, as well as drugs and guns.
So this was Wall Street, which was the latest one after Alpha something, which replaced something else, which replaced, what was the original one?
Silk Road?
Silk Road, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So the question is, what will be next? Because there's going to be another one that pops up. It's almost like you can't stop drugs. Oh. Weird. If you want to escape the scrutiny of the IRS and the FBI, forget cryptocurrency. The people dealing in Monero on those dark web accounts, it didn't save them. That's not the way to go. If you want to be a real hardcore, like below the table trader, it's got to be RuneScape currency.
Man paid hacker RuneScape in-game currency to access email accounts related to ex-girlfriend and gets probation. Of course, this was Singapore.
This is a crazy story. So this chick, she had let this guy have her email password. I guess that was like a trust issue. Krista, do you share passwords?
Yeah.
So.
Not all of them, but.
Oh, which ones you keep in secret?
Just like email ones, because we don't really need to be in each other's email. But
Well, maybe you should, Krista. Anyway, this guy had access, and the girl broke up with him, and he knew that she didn't know enough to change the access and change the password and get him out of it. And he knew who did. It was her friend, when he knew who this guy was. And this sent him into a jealous rage where he wanted to hack this other guy, but he didn't have those skills. But he knew a man who did. It was Jake from RuneScape. So he paid, it was a big number. I don't know what that converts to in the Singapore local currency. But he gave him a bunch of RuneScape money. Jake was happy to help, apparently a skilled hacker as well, got right in there. And this guy got busted for it, and they kind of slapped him on the wrist. But it didn't stop him. He struck again, once again out of jealous rage, hacked another guy to get another account, threatened them online, saying that he was going to destroy their financial accounts and stuff like that. So now he's back in front. He got a year probation.
here's the thing. Why not just break up with your girlfriend?
She broke up with him. He just couldn't let go.
Oh, and they only gave him...
Yeah. 60 million RuneScape coins. Engagement challenge. What is 60 million RuneScape coins in the local Singapore currency right now?
I'm more concerned by the fact that like he keeps doing this, and like that girl's gonna end up dead.
How long can you rent a 2-bedroom apartment for in that currency? Like is like a couple of months or like a year?
He could have been jailed for 2 years and fined up to $5,000. Wait, no, S5,000, which means Singapore dollars. Again, don't know the conversion rate there. But I agree, Krista. This does not seem like a man who is going to be just like, oh, okay, I'm done.
I'll do my time.
I lost her.
Yeah.
Should have sent her flowers. How's that song go?
He should just move on with his life. Like,
I don't know if he has much of one. The old technology. Sometimes it's exciting to collect, but if you keep using it, it can have unintended consequences.
This is like that episode of Star Trek where they couldn't figure out what was wrong with the gravity generators.
Exactly like that.
Internet. Old TV caused village broadband outages for 18 months. So this town had about 400 residents, and they could not figure out why the internet would crap out every morning for the entire town at precisely 7 a.m.
What program do you think was coming on at 7 a.m.?
Faulty Towers.
They actually ran new cable for the entire town, trying to figure out where the problem was.
It turns out it was radio frequency interference from a fabulously old television.
They did not name the person because apparently there was a lot of ill will in this town about Can you imagine every day at 7 a.m. your internet goes out? And how long do they leave the TV on, do you think?
Well, see, we do have that kind of problem around here with our aging copper infrastructure because, like us, they don't have fiber here, apparently. If this had been a fiber optic broadband, it would not have been a problem. But
my internet goes out every night.
Yeah. So,
And
I mean...
it's often it will desync the router and the modem. And so when I wake up in the morning and I grab the tablet and I want to say, oh, what's going on? Oh, I have to go down and reset the...
Yeah, that's because copper, not fiber, because... any little thing. I mean, the mad scientist next door could be just doing some very modest experiments, and the radio frequency interference from that will take out broadband to the entire node.
What about skunks and moles? That's what I have next door.
I would say, Wendell, you are the mad scientist that everyone else lives next to.
Turkey. Now, we talked about the Thai king and his intolerance for any insolence among his people. The leader of Turkey kind of on the same vibe. And he's not a king, but he does not tolerate any talking out the side of your mouth. And especially when it comes to the fairer sex.
Turkey sentences female politician to prison for calling Erdogan, whatever, the enemy of women. I don't think he's ever heard of the Streisand effect.
She was a real thorn in his paw because she is a, co-chairwoman of the People's Democratic Congress. Obviously not someone who believes in his kind of rule. Probably talked a lot of other crap that he didn't like, but he used this particular thing to lock her up. And that is a member of the United Nations, folks. That's a big U.S. ally. Yeah.
Huh.
And this reality.
Listen, we need that air base. Incirlik, I think is the name of it. We got to have it.
I really did not pick nuclear war with Turkey for the the 2020 capstone event.
No, it's the Civil War and then the Carrington event. That's my bet. That's what I'm putting on my bingo card for the last 2 months.
Civil War is next month.
I don't
that what
think
you're
it'll
guessing?
Be October. It'll be November.
Oh, right. Well, but this is October, Krista.
Yeah, technically it's October. Sorry.
If you are on subways right about now, it's probably a terrifying place to be because, you're trapped in a small tube with other people breathing their air, and that could be dangerous right now. But there is one thing to be happy about if you're traveling on the MTA.
MTA board officially bans pooping on subways and buses. I feel like while they were at it, they should have gone ahead and banned cooking with an open flame, eating children, and perhaps also salsa lessons.
Well, they did have laws in effect, but the language only had to do with spitting and urinating. I suppose they thought that people would infer, but no, we need to clarify defecation.
Imagine there's someone he's pulling up his pants and like a conductor runs over. He's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "That sign don't say nothing about pooping."
MTA is that? I don't even know where this is.
Pretty sure stories like this indicate that the Great Filter is in fact in front of us.
What is FR24? Because I'm thinking this is an individual city. This is mass transit, but that's not the whole country, is it? Metropolitan Transportation Authority. That's what that is. I don't know where FR24 is.
The picture says New York City subway.
Oh, excellent investigative work, Krista.
That's why I always look at the stock photo.
Now, Krista, here's one for you. You have a lovely dog. Is she in the room with you today?
No, she's not. She's downstairs sleeping.
She seems to sleep a lot during news time.
She does sleep. She sleeps a lot until it's time to go on a walk at the end of the day.
Now, I will go ahead and chime in, and I'll say, you're going to give me a break from those two little monsters for an entire month? If you're going to guarantee their safe return, you got them. Enjoy them for a month. But, Krista, we'll let you read the headline first, and then you can weigh in on your amount of time.
Survey, 40% would give up their dog for a month to keep their smartphone. I would not do this.
Well, how long would you give her up for?
I probably wouldn't give her up at all.
Not even for a couple hours?
No. I mean, like, when we went on vacation, we'll board her. Like, if we can't take her with us, but most of the time we just take her with us if we're going camping or something.
I got to say, during the lockdown, I don't really use my phone very much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I only use my phone to be reminded that I probably should be keeping an eye on my email because it's like, yeah, I'm in the zone, I'm working, and then it's like the blink, blink, blink gets to me, and it's like, oh no, 8 hours have passed. I didn't realize.
But that's just because I don't need little screen because I got big screen at all times. Yeah,
Are you near a computer? Almost always.
yeah. A lot of people, we like to make fun of the furries here on this channel, and they're an easy target. Let's face it. But a lot of people say you shouldn't do that because the furries are innocent. They're just enjoying this, weird lifestyle thing. Who are you to say that they're doing anything wrong? And I say, look at stories like this.
Suspect in chipmunk outfit robs pharmacy in Villa Plate. I don't know if that's how you say that.
I think we're nonsense, right? This is a nonsense story.
You didn't think that the dog smartphone story wasn't nonsense?
Listen, Alvin has fallen on hard times since Dave died.
There's no pictures, which is disappointing.
Theodore's
surveillance video.
Theodore's been withdrawing for 2 days. He's going to die. He needs Percocet. Unfortunately, they don't have any video or images here. I was very disappointed about that. 7KPLC. But yeah, this guy waited for the back door to open, brought that employee in at gunpoint, and proceeded to rob all the pills and store them in his cheeks.
And then they all dissolve, and then he
He was just a block away, frothing at the mouth.
That's what happened to Theodore. Little does he know.
Krista, you told us a couple of weeks ago about the naming convention of the storms. There have been so many. We're now in the Greek alphabet.
Yes.
I thought of a solution to that. Celebrities.
No, apparently they wanted to do politicians, but that didn't happen. So they run out of names.
But how do you know the difference between a celebrity name and just the random names that they choose?
Hurricane DeVito will not.
Yeah, you still wouldn't know that. You'd have to use the full name, and then they'd sue you. Anyway, sometimes you don't have to choose a new name, because this one would have been Gamma if not for the fact that it had already lived once.
Zombie Tropical Storm Paulette returns from the dead because it's 2020.
It made it all the way to the other side of the ocean.
Yeah, I think it went from did it go from the Gulf to the main Atlantic? Like,
it was near Australia, wasn't it?
No, this was. I don't know. No, it was in the Atlantic.
Yeah, it's making landfall in Africa there.
Yeah.
There you go. That's just stealth mode. I don't think it's ever did. Oh, here we go. Here's the path.
Yeah.
Yeah, it circled all the way around and then came back. It was like faking them out. And then boom.
It weakened and then re-intensified.
At one point, I think that they're mostly gone now. Like, things have calmed down at least for a week. But at one point, we had like 5 tropical storms and/or hurricanes just circling around in the Gulf and like in the Atlantic in general. And it was like, wow, that's terrifying.
Yeah, because
imagine being a shipping person right now trying to navigate through all that.
They were out there in the ocean and they were like, hey, should we make landfall? And one of them was like, no, they're having the pandemic. We don't want to go there. So they chilled out.
Oh yeah, there's a related article that shows all the hurricanes that were in the Atlantic at the same time. Wild.
Wow. Now this story, don't get excited. Let me start out by saying don't get excited. It's only in Canada, and
there's only 1,000.
Only 1,000 people. You have to sign up now. So if you're Canadian, maybe you still have time
too late
to get in line.
Only our patrons had a chance, or our float plane subs.
Oh, that's right, because it'll be a week. You're dead.
Yeah.
You're not getting it. I can't imagine what this would taste like.
Ain't no basic batch. Pumpkin spice craft dinner is coming. I got the inflections on that wrong. It's craft dinner, not craft dinner. I didn't know craft dinner was a thing.
Well, they say craft dinner, but this is just mac and cheese, right?
Well, apparently they can't call it mac and cheese because that's not a dinner, obviously. Have you done no marketing? Craft dinner is definitely a dinner because it's called a dinner, even though it's just mac and cheese. You don't have to feel guilty about having the mac and cheese because it's literally labeled dinner, whereas craft mac and cheese, that's not a dinner.
It's part of a balanced breakfast.
So I was actually in the market for pumpkin spice earlier this week, so I'm planning on making cookies this weekend. And couldn't find any at the grocery store, so we had to look up the individual components. But one of the major ones is cinnamon. I can't imagine cinnamon would be very good on mac and cheese.
Well, that's what this appears to be, is just you get some mac and cheese, which I think you're just going to get like the powdered kind, and you sprinkle some pumpkin spice on top of that and eat it.
Nice.
That ain't right. Maybe Canadians can't taste cinnamon.
That ain't right in the way that the KFC wrap ain't right.
I don't know this one.
It's like the fried chicken wrapped, like they use fried chicken patties as the buns for a burger or something.
Oh, that's not a wrap. That's a sandwich.
Sandwich, whatever.
That ain't right, though.
The double down.
Yeah, or the KFC, the bowl, where it's like chicken and mashed potatoes and everything is just all mixed together.
Yeah, I don't like the gravy. I'm fine mixing chicken and corn and mashed potatoes. Let's just keep the gravy out of that equation.
The gravy is a really interesting chemical compound because it's like a super saturation of salt. It's like you get like 4 tablespoons of that gravy and you can somehow extract 3 kilos of salt from that.
Now here's the engagement challenge chat. So I had so many questions after reading this headline. The major one though, and I meant to YouTube it and I forgot because my brain was trying to protect itself. I got to know, engagement challenge. I'm pretty sure that this is the case, but is this just a bunch of morons running around with brooms between their legs?
Yes.
Have you seen it?
Yeah. Yeah, I had a friend who played this for a while, a couple years ago.
Wow. Okay, you're going to have to tell us more about it, but let's see the headline first.
Columbia Renegades coach begins first ever Quidditch scholarship to help promote diversity. So I never watched any of her games, but I just heard about it through social media. She would talk about going to her games. But it is, you just play Quidditch, but you're on the ground, and you have a broom.
So one hand is always on the broom, right?
Yeah. It's basically soccer. And, I don't think they had a snitch. I don't know all the rules, because, in the Harry Potter universe, you basically just want to capture the snitch. Because that's how you're going to win. You get the most points for that, but...
Is that not... I don't know much about Harry Potter. Is that not a flying thing?
Yeah, they fly throughout the whole thing.
Finally, the Ring doorbell can be the appropriate substitute for the snitch.
So, okay. There's so much signaling going on in this article. We got to break it down. First of all, college level Quidditch is not separated by gender. Men and women play together. And apparently, now this is going to blow your mind, not a lot of people of color seem to care about it. Basically a bunch of white nerds running around. So what's the solution to this? We're going to get a scholarship. Guess how much you get per semester?
$500.
$500.
Cover one textbook.
3/4 of a textbook.
I'm here on scholarship. Oh, really?
I was thinking about, like, these people when they become parents, it's like, oh yeah, my dad was a Quidditch player in college. And it's just like, wait, what?
Don't ever talk to me again.
They talk about like the Quidditch is mixed gender, which okay, this is going to get a little nerdy, but like in the Harry Potter universe, because the broom is doing all of the physical work, like that kind of makes sense, right? Like it's more of a strategy game and how well you can fly. But like if you're actually playing it on the ground, in theory, generally speaking, wouldn't men have an advantage because they can run a little bit faster? They have a little more muscle.
Oh my God, the bigotry, Krista.
I think you've been conditioned by the man, Krista.
This is some real nerd pedantry. I'm just curious. That's an engagement challenge.
Is there physical contact in Quidditch?
Yes, there are. Well, let me see if I can remember. Let me drag up this lore from my brain. There's, I can't remember what it starts. Bludgers, maybe? And they're like basically kind of like goalkeepers. I'd have to look up the rules again. It's been a long time. I remember when, though, the whole thing with the snitch. The snitch is like the thing that you get the most points for. And it's like, why would you do anything but look for the snitch? There's no reason to do anything else. But
you know where else that applies is MS-13. There's a bunch of nerds out there who are just like, they're out there on the field and they're like power tripping and just smashing the women. But diversity! This story, I meant to cut this because this is just, it's nonsense. Well, I mean, we're already nonsense, but like, you get really excited when you see the picture, but it's fake.
Yeah. A giant rat found in a Mexico City drain. It's not real. It's just crap.
It was a Halloween decoration that got swept up in a flood. But the emergency workers who found it were terrified. Or not emergency workers, but, like...
City drain sewer workers.
City workers, yeah. Now, Krista, you brought up, and we talked about this in the last episode. I don't know about you, Wendell, but we're just not buying, like, professional clothing. Let's be honest. Here in this office, we don't put a lot of stock into that.
A couple of my shirts have actually started to rot away. Like this one, the button is broken.
Yeah.
Like
I got some boxer shorts. I think it's just massive holes in them. It's like, I haven't really been buying clothing anymore. But some people do still seem to care about it. And as usual, there's some interesting fashion trends that cost a lot of money, but might leave you scratching your head.
Would you buy $1,400 overalls with fake grass stains? Well, Gucci's selling some. It costs more than the stimulus check. Ain't nobody gonna have that much money.
So there they are. Really nothing impressive about them. The grass stains are not actual grass stains. They are a special kind of dye.
What's frustrating is you can get these overalls probably literally at any Goodwill. Even if you're in a town that has a terrible Goodwill, you could probably get a pair of overalls.
And they probably will be stained.
At any farm supply store.
Well, those would be new, though. Those would be new and very functional.
For what it calls the grunge vibe.
So for $1,400, what you get is this little tag right here, the Gucci tag. Or for probably about $200, you can get a version of those where it's a Chinese woman has very expertly sewn that on to a regular pair of overalls.
No, yeah. See, in next to the computer marketplace in Taiwan, there was just there's a lot of little commercial stalls, and there was a place that had stuff like that. It didn't seem like it was all handmade, but they were doing repairs and stuff like that, and the embroidery and the stitching and like the stuff that looked there and like the cost was insane. It was like somebody obviously put a lot of work into this, or it was expertly put together. It was really high quality, but it was not crazy expensive.
If
Yeah,
you
those
don't,
people are probably slaves.
if you don't want the overalls, you just want the jeans. Good news. It'll only cost you $770.
Oh,
Right.
perfect.
You can get two. We have a lot of stories about people using their Teslas incorrectly. There was, several of them running into ambulances and police cars, and the guy who died hitting the separator. All sad stories. This one maybe is the most extreme. They definitely figured out some way to bypass those safety systems, because this should not be possible.
Speeding Tesla driver caught napping behind the wheel on an Alberta highway. Driver and passenger were reclining in their seats while the car was on autopilot, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police said. It's like, this is a driver assist technology. It's not meant to do this. But they were on a highway, so it'll auto steer and auto maintain a distance with the car in front of it. And
Also, they had the balls to set the autopilot above the speed limit. What's 150 kilometers to miles per hour? It's up there.
it might have just been like keep up with traffic mode, so it'll just
No,
follow the-
because they pointed out the cop got up behind him and lit him up. And he was like, there's nobody in that car. And the car began to accelerate away from him. But it's because all the other people in that far lane got over because they saw the lights. And the car was like, oh, open road.
Thanks, police officer.
Andrew Dean, president of the Tesla Owners Club of Alberta.
Oh, my
Dude.
God. The Tesla Owners Club of Alberta.
300 paying members of her group.
If you
Hey.
belong to the Tesla Owners Club of Alberta, I'm not allowed to say what I think you should do because someone will sue me after you do it.
I will also point out that Tesla, that the data set from her driving is going into the vast Tesla data set that it's using to train future generations of truly autonomous self-driving pilotry, and that is a bad data point.
I'm not sure I think she was just commenting. I don't know if she was the offender.
Or whoever was driving.
She wasn't the offender. No, she
was a
was
male.
just like, it makes us all look bad.
So
Oh.
the cop wrote him up for speeding and something else, a temporary 24-hour license suspension. But once the court got a look at it, they gave him a criminal offense,
Wow.
reckless driving. Which, I mean, come on. That's just ridiculous. And now we have an animal block. The first one, sadly, a
Sad.
dark day. F's in the chat for one of the first and most lovable of all the memes.
The cat behind the famous long cat meme has died, aged 18. Long
Why?
cat, long no more.
Oh, here he is.
That's a good run for a cat.
Yeah. I'm sure he was well taken care of. He was long. Look at him. Just keeps on going.
Apparently, is he Japanese?
I think so, yeah.
Wow, that's impressive because, like, looking at that picture behind him, I would guess that was a trailer in Eastern Kentucky.
Yeah, but look at the right hand one.
The wood paneling and
Yeah, the cars.
Listen, Japan's got poor people. So yeah, that's sad. But like you say, 18 years is a really good run for a cat, and I'm sure he was beloved and pampered.
I had this one pegged as probably our last story for the week, so
Well, I had to put it in the animal block. This one, yeah, this is crazy. They didn't point out though. I imagine we could eat these guys, right?
yeah, but there's at one point the quote is like, oh, this wouldn't be a problem if there's only a few thousand of them, but we've got like 1 million of these and it's going to be at 8 million before.
Yeah, they will double in a very short amount of time because of the amazing genetics that they have gotten from our pigs.
Hog wild, the U.S. has an out-of-control population of super pigs, experts say. So this is apparently domesticated pigs, which are prolific breeders, and they breed all year round. They don't really have a breeding season. And they produce a litter of like 10 piglets. They have bred with European wild boars and produced a viable offspring that have the best of both sets of traits. So we have these super pigs that are like 3 feet tall on up from there, 250 pounds, and they're basically unstoppable.
Yeah. So Texas has you can get a license in Texas to hunt them year round, but you're not allowed to go on other people's properties, and they're apparently pretty mobile. So, you ever see the video of Ted Nugent hunting these guys from a helicopter? God, it looks like fun. And because they're such a nuisance, nobody cares. I mean, the animal rights people got after him, but he was like, look, they're destroying our world. We have to kill them. Why shouldn't I take my helicopter and high-powered rifle and kill them?
I don't think these are really in Kentucky yet, because here the only things you can shoot year-round are turkey vulture and coyotes.
I think,
but I guess they'll be here soon.
They're probably not too well suited to the hills.
And maybe
they eat crops. That's the big problem. So farmland is where they're a big threat. They also carry swine flu. Ouch.
Nobody eat any more bats or these wild hogs.
But I'm thinking like what if that's what saves us after, the next event? Like we're all starving, but we got these hogs that, you don't even have to breed them.
They like take care of themselves.
They're like the buffalo before we showed up.
Actually, they probably would be good in hilly areas if they otherwise tolerate the climate, because what else are you going to do with a hilly area?
Yeah, just run some hogs on it. Now, they've killed a woman. They found her with blunt force trauma to the head and bite wounds. She had bled to death. They weren't sure exactly how she died. Maybe the head wound, maybe bleeding to death. But it was definitely hogs that got her. So if you're in Texas, you better pack some heat.
Not good.
I think you're required by law to pack heat in Texas.
It's such a beautiful place. All the Californians have moved down there, though. They're going to ruin it. Rats in captivity they become kind of like pets to some of these people. We're having a shortage right now for science rats.
Oh, yeah, because the people that care for them had to euthanize the colonies because they couldn't come in to care for them.
But apparently we have enough to do these kinds of tests, which I don't really understand what we're gaining from this. But it is a nice headline.
Not all rats like to be tickled, scientists discover. And turns out that noise that rats make that's like laughter is in some cases laughter.
Some of them enjoy it very much. Others?
Not so much.
Don't care for it.
It's interesting, I guess.
It's interesting. But at a time when, maybe you have a lab, could there be anything else that you're researching that might help humanity? I can't think of anything.
Nope, it'll just work itself out.
This is a great video. This monster. You gotta know that the other parents are just like gritting their teeth, but they can't say anything because what are you gonna say? This is just nature running its. This is Genghis Khan. If we were back in those days. I gotta run it back.
Huge 6-year-old dominates opponents in viral football video. Oh, it's
Come
struggling.
on, New York Post.
The kid's name is Aiden, which shouldn't surprise anyone for that generation. He's 130 pounds. He weighs the same as I do.
Yeah,
he's 6 years old.
5'1".
Yeah,
that's crazy. He could probably whip your ass, Kristen.
Oh, he probably could. He's stocky. He's low to the ground.
look how tiny that little guy is. He just smacks him on the head.
Nice.
They interviewed his dad, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I love it. I'm real proud of him. It's so good for his self-esteem." It's like, I guess it's genetics. He
His
can be
dad
proud
played
of his
football.
genetics. Yeah. You think he'll keep up that, or will he hit a point? It's like I feel this sometimes. It's like if you were a smart kid, you don't learn the discipline, and then when you hit the wall, where you're like your natural abilities won't take you any farther, it's like, oh, this is difficult.
You do that, or you just live with people that'll let you live with them forever.
I was gonna say get depressed, but
How's
I like
that
your
going?
better.
Still not any bitterness left, right?
No, it's
Totally flushed out of the system. And finally, I can't believe that you thought that other one, the pig story, would be the last story when you read this one.
This one would have been like, I was cackling up to the point where it was like, and it just shuts off after an hour. And it's like, aw.
The quote from the tweet is great. But first, let's see the headline.
This guy is letting his Twitter followers control his vibrating butt plug.
Now, it's exactly what it sounds like. So he set this up. He had actually So you're thinking like, where are you going to add electronics to that thing? He has a battery, a AA battery, which he has installed a Wi-Fi module into the battery, so that the battery itself can have, like a little computer hooked up to it. And this is something he's working on, part of his marketing, I guess. So to test it, pop that battery into his butt plug, and here's the tweet. The first line of it. This is a sentence that's never been uttered before, I'm sure.
I'm not going to read that because of the algorithm, but yeah. So you could read it there. It's fine. But yeah, you depending on how you respond to the tweet is how the device responds, and that more intense, less intense. But then he's like, you know what? After an hour, it's fine.
Yeah. I like the other quote later in the article. It's something about my personal butt activities, and it's like that's something
Yeah.
I'm not interested in. But
oh yeah, and this is, of course, we talked about this before. What a great word, teledildonics. I think we were debating last time whether or not we could use that as the title.
We cannot.
How would the algorithm?
It would be very
deal
unfavorable.
with teledildonics? They referred to this as the future of masturbation.
No.
What can you say after that?
Not much. I mean, it doesn't.
Weird world.
It doesn't really get better than that. You know what? I mean, if anything, this year has shown us that life is short. Whatever. You do you. It's fine.
No, you're not hurting anybody.
Yeah.
I guess some people could enjoy clicking the tweet button.
Yeah, I mean, some people enjoy clicking the dislike button because I'm playing with a pipe joint that I need to install in the air conditioner, but whatever.
Just a different kind of playing is all it is.
I can't quiet my mind. They've tried.
All right, Chris, I got a couple of scenarios of the kinds of goodbyes, but they all have to do with butt plugs and that. I'm not even going to say it.
Let's not go there. Let's not go there, chat. Let's just stay inside and pretend that the flaming train wreck isn't just hurtling forward into space.
Hey, it's October. There's some new stuff coming out soon.
When is Cyberpunk?
I don't know.
November.
That was in November. Well, everything will be dead by then, so.
Oh, we forgot to do the 3000 series graphics cards. We skipped it somehow. Oh, well.
No, we did that last week.
Did we?
Yeah, I think we did.
Well, the reviews are out now.
Yeah. Not like it matters. No one can get one, so.
True.
All right. See you next week.
Bye.
Good luck in November.